All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Christopher Bilbrey. This is the Political Spotlight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to a very, 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 very long and busy Wednesday evening. It's been like 3 Wednesdays long today. I'm sorry about the weirdness of the music there. One of the weird things is like we get a couple things going on the screen and it like kind of pitch bends down and back up. So sorry, hang with us on that. We will probably get that worked out here directly. But welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Political Spotlight. I am your host, Christopher Bilbrey. Of course, as always, we have producer Kate down in the duck doing the things, pushing the buttons, and making the show work. If you could do all of the things, we won't go into them in great detail, but if you could please do all of these things, like, subscribe, hit the bell. If you could comment and share the show with everyone you know, we would appreciate it. We are a new channel, broadcasting for a long time, politically active for even longer, but we are a baby channel because we are here starting over, and it's so fun. So please share the show with everyone you know, specifically because we have a lot to cover this evening. We are going to have a guest on, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be absolutely amazing. Just politically speaking, a watchdog, an activist. I don't know how she necessarily refers to herself. A citizen, a liberty-minded citizen. We'll say that. But after the interview, I think you likely will be calling her a badass. So we'll be watching that. We'll see. Very cool. I'm actually new to this individual. Brandon Rudd and I went and was live on location, Spotlight live on location at the Kennedy Library a couple weeks ago when we witnessed this woman one-on-two take on 2 state representatives, newly elected state Senator Scott Alexander, former Delaware County councilman. This is the first budget meeting session in many years where he's like, thank God I'm not there. Talking about Delaware County. We'll get into that later. But yeah, he's at the State House as a new senator. And then, of course, a viewer favorite here on the program, J.D. Prescott, District 33 State Representative J.D. Prescott. And she shut him right down. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to be talking about her causes. Of course, she is, we'll let her tell about herself, but she's a nurse. She is concerned about her bodily autonomy. And I think she's probably concerned about all of ours, or at least us being able to have bodily autonomy. So we're going to be talking to her about that. We're going to be talking to her about her new kind of the new segue off of that group and what we as citizens in the state of Indiana and what you guys that are outside of Indiana can do. You can take these same ideas wherever you're watching from and apply a lot of these same ideas. So without further ado, we're going to get ready to bring her up. But I will say tonight, I warned you, will be a long show. I haven't talked with my guests on how long she has. I'm not going to like kill her for time. So we'll let her talk and we'll give her the, natural time. And when she's ready to pack up, we will then let her go, but I will give her as long as she wants. And then afterwards, we will also then break into a couple of other things that just literally cannot wait until tomorrow. We'll need to be talking about the Delaware County budget meetings. They started today, and we've already seen some fireworks. Of course, we're going to be talking about the city of Muncie. It's Wednesday, so they had their Board of Works meeting. They paid the claims. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about some other weirdness. And then maybe if we have time, we'll get into some Henry County stuff, but maybe that'll kick over till tomorrow. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be bringing up the JD Slayer. And this is Ashley Grogg from Hoosiers for Medical Liberty. Ashley, welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
So, why don't you just start? I know that a lot of our viewers have watched and are familiar with the event that the Muncie Tea Party put on. But why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're sitting here tonight?
Well, I'm just a normal person wanting to live my normal life. I like to be left alone and I don't like to be told what to do. And so, life just takes crazy turns. And in February of 2020, I took a political leadership school and learned that I could punish bad politicians and hold them accountable for their actions. And from that moment on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is where I want to go. And, you know, controversial topic of vaccinations. We stopped vaccinating long before COVID came along. And I had watched how the issue of vaccination and forced vaccination eventually was going to come to the United States. And so, that really inspired me. The Hasidic Jewish community up in New York was targeted. They were prevented from going to synagogue because they weren't vaccinated. Samoan Islands were targeted during a measles outbreak. They weren't allowed to use certain treatment forms. And I just thought, this is a dry run for something. Well, that timeline, I wasn't really quite ready to come out of the closet, so to speak,
Right.
and to take that on. But it all just lined up, and that happened in February. I knew politics was going to be the answer because I had to protect our rights to decline vaccination from a legal perspective. And so I started the nonprofit 7 days after that first introduction to politics. I told you that, prior to that, I voted, and I voted because I'd ask my husband, like, okay, who should I vote for? And then I'd argue with him a little bit and, try to trip him up or whatever. And then I'd vote, pretty much whatever he would say. And so not politically active, no knowledge. As a nurse, I was, extremely well respected by my peers, climbed up the ranks really quickly, always used to knowing all the things and being able to take care of all the problems. And so for me, coming into an environment where I literally knew nothing it was not in my comfort zone. But I knew that God was calling me to do something, and if I didn't do it, I was going to regret it.
Right.
My grandpa was in Auschwitz, and I'll be damned if my kids ever come
Wow.
close to setting foot in a concentration camp. Um, I will go out in a blaze of glory. Now, whether that's in political glory or whether that is, other means, that's yet to be seen. So hopefully it just stays in the political realm. But that's why I'm here and why I'm fighting. And I take a no nonsense approach. I mean, do what you're saying you're going to do,
Yeah.
and stand by the Constitution, and don't tell me I have to inject myself or my children with something, because that's a line that I'm not going to cross. And it will be a hill I will die on if I have to. So
Absolutely.
we've just been fighting. Our organization is young. I mean, 2020, we've had 3 legislative sessions since then. In each of those 3 years, we've had legislative victory. And it's because of that no nonsense kind of hard-nosed approach that I take. And I get criticized a lot for that. I don't look like somebody who would be like in your face and aggressive. I think I have that as an advantage. I look like a
Yes.
really pleasant person,
Yeah.
and at least that's what I'm told. And then you get this firecracker that comes out, and it's been a really amazing journey, and I'm just really thankful that people trust me, and that they are willing to listen to what I have to say. And I think something that makes me unique is I really just try to put the information out there, and I try to make it digestible so people can understand it, and take action, because so many people bring up these problems and they want to tell you about how bad the world is, and then they don't want to do anything about it or don't have any solutions. And I can't stand that. I'm like, stop complaining. Let's pick one thing and let's work on it and make it better, and let's keep going.
Right.
And people laugh at me because they're like, Ashley, you're an eternal optimist. And I'm like, no, I'm really not. I am just picking one thing, and I'm going to attack it, and I'm going to be methodical about it. I treat politics like war. I was never in the military, but I have been told by a lot of my veteran friends that I would have, I can't follow orders for shit. So I wouldn't have worked out, but I could have led something. So, just taking that methodical mindset and not taking any crap. I mean,
Right.
like, I'm not going to do it. Like, do the right thing or get out of my way and let me
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
So,
Right. And it's interesting to me how young you are in the political
I'm a
arena,
baby. Yeah.
that you are this way, because one of two things happens. You either are somebody that comes up and you pay your dues and you do your thing, and they warp your brain, and then by the time you're in it 20 or 30 years, you're like somebody that's like, yes sir, no sir, how high do you want me to jump, what do you want me to do, how can I serve the greater good that is the political party, or whatever
Yeah.
we're serving. And then you get the young people, or the people who are young in the movement, and they come in, like you are, and they immediately get called crazy and they're aggressive, and the first thing they do is they bully them down, so they stop, they make you think that you're going to lose your job, or they're going to, your family's going to be like blackballed in the community. And people are like, oh my God, that's crazy. I was arrested for speaking in a meeting. I was falsely and unlawfully arrested, slammed into a wall, my arms twisted behind my back, because I said, you guys are a joke. I said, I didn't tell them I was going to like murder them. I didn't say anything crazy. I said, you guys are a joke. And I was arrested for disorderly conduct. And they thought that they called my work, and I had to, I wasn't pleasant. I had to sue them federally, and
Wow.
for a First Amendment rights violation. But I let them know I'm not going to be pushed, and it didn't make me the monster in the community they thought it was going to. It instead made me kind of a martyr, and it helped my cause, and that's kind of why we're here now, from my end of things. But I like that passion that you have, and I watched firsthand as JD tried doing what he's done to so many other people. Hell, he just did it to Brandon back in February. He more or less called you a liar the
He
other
did.
day.
I'm pretty sure he's like, she's a liar.
Yeah.
The second time he interrupted me, and I think that's what made me mad. I'm like, listen, dude, you can just sit down and shut up because I'm done with this. Like, I was
Well,
nicer than that.
right. And so I like that you're doing that. And so I guess if you will, talk a little bit about your group, the Hoosiers for Medical Liberty. This is a little overlay that you put up. Body integrity is medical liberty, and individuals
Inalienable,
available.
right?
Okay, right. Yeah, to be free from
Intrusions of their
of their
bodies.
their bodies. I
It's
need
hard
to
to
look
read.
up the other thing.
I think I can read it well because I know what it says. That
Okay.
interfere with their right, with their being intact and whole. So
Yes.
an individual's inalienable rights to be free from intrusions of their bodies that interfere with their right to being intact and whole.
Intact and whole. Hoosiers deserve nothing less. And then sign the petition below. And so you can go there, and so that's kind of what's going on there. So talk to us. I mean, I think everybody, specifically with everything with COVID and a lot of people going on talking about the other side of things, the abortion side of things, and where people fall and all of that. Talk, if you will, about the importance of bodily autonomy and why this is such a major thing for you.
Yeah, so I'm a nurse. I mean, my life has been really interesting. I grew up on a farm. My grandparents, we lived in a duplex, and so I grew up with them in the winters. They were snowbirds. They were in Florida in the winters, and then in the summers, my grandpa would help farm, and we kind of grew up, and I joke and say like an Amish lifestyle because multiple family members lived very closely. We had other community members that we would farm with, and I was the oldest of three girls, and my dad had 220 acres. So I was always expected to work very hard, very fast, and not complain. If you can't walk, run was like the motto in our house. And so that's given me this really strong work ethic and this ability to go after things. And it also has taught me the importance of valuing an individual, because my grandparents were old school. My grandpa was a World War II vet on my dad's side. My mom's side was in Auschwitz. And so I get called an old soul because of that. But in valuing human life and that nursing background, watching how much people suffered, and because of, you just assume that the doctor is always right. You don't get choices. You get told, okay, you have this diagnosis, and so therefore you're going to take this medication, or you're going to have this procedure, or whatever. And that always drove me nuts. My grandparents ended up passing away in our home on hospice, and I watched how great hospice care was. And because they really made those options evident, okay, here's what your future is going to look like. These are all the options that you have. These are the different things that we can do at different times. And how that gave so much, space for healing. That's really foundational for me, is that, okay, we're all individuals. We're all going to choose different paths. My mom ended up with cancer and died in our home, but she took every single treatment possible. I mean, she really wanted to stretch her life out as long as possible, as my sister was still in high school. And I did not agree with her choices, but I respected them because she had goals, and that will always stick with me, because we can't put our beliefs in that sense on other people. Like, we have to respect that right for them to, take into consideration their health, their personal beliefs, their experiences, their spirituality or religion, all of those things, and how that's going to impact those choices. So bodily autonomy and bodily integrity are two different things. And I really didn't recognize the distinction between these two. I always said bodily autonomy, and autonomy is the right to make choices, right? Integrity is a little bit different. And I pulled this from the Cambridge Journal of Law. Actually, I was doing research, total nerd, by the way. But I was doing research and trying to figure out the best way to tackle this issue without interfering with a lot of other gray areas, because we have members who are anti-abortion. We have members who are pro-abortion, and we are a single issue nonprofit group focused on the right to either accept or decline vaccination. And that does get me in a little bit of trouble, because people disagree. They don't think anybody should ever take a vaccine again. And when we go back to that right of bodily autonomy to choose, I don't feel that it's my place to say that they can't have that. So it's a very tough thing. So I chose bodily integrity because it's that right to remain whole, intact as you are. It means that nobody can force a vaccine, medical treatment, any of those things on you. And I think that is fundamental, because there's a lot of psychological issues that come after you experience something like that. And it can be longstanding. So bodily integrity is just that right to say no. It's the right to refuse, right? So bodily integrity, right to refuse; bodily autonomy, right to choose. And so we're focused on that right to bodily integrity right now. But I think we could sit here and argue over, autonomy versus integrity. For me, as an individual running a single issue group, I don't want to alienate either of those people.
Right.
And so this is why I'm kind of walking this very fine line, so that way we can make sure that we don't have forced medical procedures, and also not interfere with those other things, because there's a difference between refusing service, the right to refuse,
sure.
And there's also, demanding service, which could be something else, and as a medical professional, if I were a doctor, I wouldn't want to perform a surgery on somebody that would cause more harm than good. Or went against my personal beliefs. And so I think that's another important aspect. And it's going to be really interesting. There's going to be loads of conversation over this. And I really look forward to this legislative season, because it's going to be a debate. It's going to be hot.
You're right. Right. So talk a little bit about, you will, because I want to make sure people are really kind of aware of kind of what the big fight was with what we were doing just a couple about a week and a half ago when we were there in the Kennedy Library. The big fight there, of course, was the fact that the Tea Party had brought in the state officials to talk about this Indiana Senate
SB4,
Enrolled
the
Act.
public health. Yeah,
Yeah,
public health.
and so just in a nutshell, tell the listeners what that is and why you have an issue with this.
Yeah, SB4 or SDA4, public health funding was the Governor's Public Health Commission, started back in September of 20, or it was an executive order, August of 2021. And he bypassed the legislature and he pushed through this massive increase in funding for the public health departments. However, if you go back and listen to the June 30th meeting from the Public Health Commission, they lay out their plans and they talk about all the ways that they're going to coerce counties into participating. They talk about how this will ensure that consistent public health measures will be provided across the state. And then they brought up, Holcomb's vaccine and mask issues and things like that. And so you could tell that it was really particularly focused on the removal of autonomy of the counties.
Yeah.
Because really, when we're in this war on a global scale, in the right to our bodies, and we could go off on so many tangents, but this is a global war of control, who rules whom. And I think when you take away that, when you take away that autonomy at the county level, that's the last line of defense. Our government was set up in that way that the lower levels of government can kick out the higher levels of government. And so that's why that's so important. Well, we walked them back significantly through testimony and stuff like that, but a little line squeaked, through. They refused to kind of remove it. I pointed it out the whole time, but the county's eligibility for funding, and we're talking in some cases millions of dollars for a county,
Sure.
is tied to the compliance with administrative rules made by the Indiana State Department of Health. Well,
and just real quick, Sally, it's tied to compliance.
Yeah, it's tied to compliance. The thing of it is those administrative rules, they don't have to get authorization to change those administrative rules from the legislature. That's what they just did. They gave them the authority to make rules under this concerning, different areas. And that includes testing, disease tracking. It includes the school vaccinations. There were a lot of people really worried about whether or not COVID was going to be added to the list of required vaccinations for school children.
Yes.
And they said that they weren't going to do that. They could at any time change that. And that's why these administrative rules, this loophole, is so important for us to pay attention to, because they decide they're going to change those administrative rules. Your county doesn't comply. They have a 30-day window to either submit to compliance or not. And the way that played out during COVID is we had several counties in Indiana who said, we're not masking. We're not doing this. We're not playing these games. We're not shutting down. And the state didn't like that because they couldn't control it. And don't you know, the feds didn't like that because they couldn't control it. and then word spread because you have one dissenter and it spreads like wildfire. And so what they're trying to do is just cut that off so that way we don't have the ability to dissent. And so huge issue. It's not overtly scary, but that's how they do these things. They just, just a little thing here that you're not going to notice, a little thing here that you're not going to notice. And then all of a sudden, like everything that was passed with 9/11, we're in a mess.
And you never get it back. And it's literally death by 1,000 cuts.
Mm-hmm. We're going to get this back. Like I'm not done playing.
I love it. So when we were there and you were explaining this and they let Scott and JD go first and say their piece and do their thing. And then I love it because they're like, okay, well, they said their piece. you guys have a good one. You guys can kind of talk to him. And you're like, no. I want to talk and I want them to hear this. And they were like not wanting to do that. And that's just JD's MO no matter where he goes. He wants to talk. He doesn't want it to be videoed. He wants to control who's in the room, who hears it, and who gets to talk back to him. And so he's like, you somehow were able to wrangle that back away. And then after you had sat there kindly and listened to them
attentively.
drone on, yeah, right. Yeah. And you were listening. It was great. And so then you sat there and you're talking and we're being respectful. And then all of a sudden, bam, JD just comes in and he drops the line that he does. So just non-eloquently, he's just like, no. That's not right. She's basically lying. I think he says you're not being honest.
That's not in the bill. That's not in the bill.
That's not in the bill. And and this is what I hate that he does. You said, do you want me to give you the code? Do you want me to give you, where you need to go find that? And he says, no, I can find it. And then that's why I blurted out and said, no, just give us the code so everyone out here can look. Now, I don't know if they did or not, but I didn't want him to skate out of there by saying, oh, no, I can find it. And then you not getting that out. So that's why I just said, yeah, give it to us.
Yeah.
And, then the best thing in the world happened. And for people that want to go back and watch this, these are the videos that are on our channel. They're the 2 videos live on location. It's a part 1 and a part 2. Brando videoed these. I videoed, he videoed, and his video was the best. And he did some amazing, zoomed in videoing of this. And literally when she's reading this out, JD was like, I don't know if he was stroking out what he was doing, but his eyes were rolling back in his head. Something was very bizarre, but
he was glitching.
He was definitely glitching. And so I just like when you're able to, you weren't out of control rude. You just shut him down, you shut him up, and then you went on with your piece. And that's what's very, very important, is to be able to do that. And so it's because, listen, the reason I wanted you to talk about where you've been and how long you haven't been involved is because the number one thing that I hear people say is, well, you've been doing this a long time. Because I always tell people I've been politically active for 25 plus years. I'm 41 years old. I started being involved in politics when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, running around in the backs of parties and council meetings and being involved with knocking on doors and things. And the issue is people say it's too over my head. I'm not a lawyer, or, I've never done this, and it does not take long. I say that if someone can sit down and learn the rules to football and carry on enough to watch what's going on and know all of the drivers in NASCAR and know all of the points that the basketball players are making in a season, you can sit down and take a couple of days and weeks and learn enough to be pretty dangerous to the politicians. And so, everything that you're hearing, ladies and gentlemen, is all things that she's learned relatively quickly. Just in a couple of years, she's got to this point. And so, if you will, talk a little bit about, the importance of talking to your elected officials and maybe kind of segue a bit into the other group that you've got going on here.
So just to give you some background story, because there's something that I want to point out. So first of all, I was just down at that Muncie Tea Party, maybe 2 months prior to that. And they asked me point blank, because they couldn't believe what I was saying. They knew it was all true because I could show them. And that's how I try to do everything. Here's the proof. So they asked me, they said, if we can get our legislators and our city councilmen to come down, will you come back and debate them? And I was like, heck yeah, I will, but you got to let them know that I'm coming.
Right.
There are times for ambushes and there are times for, a little bit more political courtesy,
sure.
As much as it pains me to say that, but so they knew I was going to be there. And it really frustrated me because she said it was a debate, and then she just gave them that whole time to speak freely, and she tried to cut it Sure. And I was like, hey, no, I need to be able to rebuttal. And the people there kind of got upset too. Like they
Yeah.
were not happy that I was, getting cut off. And I could tell that she didn't want to. And I could tell that she was getting a lot of pressure from um, probably primarily JD. Scott Alexander and I, we were able to have good conversation.
Yeah.
And so, she was in a difficult position, but I was not going to let that opportunity go to waste because they just, ignorance is bliss. And
Yep.
so the way that all played out was just so interesting. And it just shows you that they will use manipulation to control the situation. And JD's just, he voted against the bill and he brought the vote slips. Like he printed off
Yes.
the vote sheets so he could show that he voted against this bill. And this is another thing that people need to watch out for because I've had other legislators tell me, well, I had to vote yes initially so that way I could have say in the bill. And I'm like, no, stop that right now. No. And so I think that that's important to note, the fact that JD voted against this bill, but yet he sat there and called me a liar. I'm like 99% sure he called me a liar. He's like, that's not in the bill. She's not telling you how it is or whatever. And then he's straight called me a liar. And I was like, okay, fine, let's play this way. And I'll match your energy. I mean, I will give you exactly what you give me. If
Sure.
you want to give me salt, I'll give you salt. If you want to give me vinegar, I'll give you vinegar. If you want to give me sugar, maybe I'll, but I'm not always nice. But that's just the thing, is he totally tried to, keep ignorance. And it's so frustrating because you can't do that. You cannot do that when you're making decisions and voting on things for other people. We have to have that employer-employee relationship. So, that's the piece I wanted to say there. So really, I think you're talking about the VAERS education. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about the watchdogs? Or
Any of that. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the watchdogs, because that's
Sure.
really a perfect segue. So,
Yeah.
I am very factual. I study up on these bills. I watch this issue very closely. And so that does make me somewhat of a political threat, right? Because I can make them look foolish. But the real threat comes from the people. And, we had talked a little bit about this, and I'm not anything special. I'm just a normal person who likes to work really hard, and I want to be left alone. And that's what brought me here. And I think a lot of people out there are feeling that same way. And so what I'm doing is, this is part of Hoosiers for Medical Liberty. We are creating watchdogs, and we want these people to fight specifically for our medical liberty. Your focus is going to be locked in right there. And we're building up this, I'm calling it the PAC, PACK, like, dog pack or whatever, wolf pack. But we're building up this pack, and I'm going to have trainings and help educate people on how to have those conversations. We have those resources on our website now. If you go to the link on the on the ticker tape there, the Watchdogs webpage, you'll be able to download a sheet that tells you how to find out who your legislators are. Because prior to this, actually, I was in legislation. I was working and writing amendments and basically fighting the good fight, running this organization. I didn't even know who my own representative was. Okay. So if you think that you can't do this because you know nothing, you don't have to. Like, just jump in and be willing to learn. Like, our future is at stake, folks. So I know I look all peppy and, excited and happy and nice, but I am pretty ferocious at times. But we're going to win this because we have the power of the people. People have woken up. They're coming into this place. They're watching the things that, some of us newcomers are doing. We're popping up. And I think that's been to my benefit. I haven't had time to become jaded or twisted or threatened. And my following grew so rapidly that if they would try anything, I would be a martyr, and it would just come and reflect poorly on them. So I'm thankful for that, because it's a huge risk. I mean, it's a huge risk. I don't work in Western medicine, allopathic medicine anymore. So that's not really a concern, but I still do have a license, and I use my license in other modalities. And so, but you can get involved. It doesn't have to be scary. Through the Watchdogs program, the PAC, we're going to be teaching you. We're going to have trainings. We're going to help make this easy for you. You'll have the continued communication. One thing that I try to do is anytime I go through a struggle or difficult time in life, I learn as much as I can, so that way I can help other people not have to struggle as much, right? And so the same is true for politics. And I'm just taking simple things and starting people out, giving them the tips that they need to kind of dip their toes in the water, and then train them to be the ferocious watchdog when they have to be. And it's not about going in there and just yelling at them, because some of them, most of them, I think, are actually good people. They just got warped and twisted and turned around backwards, and now they're in so far that they're scared to turn back. So I want to give the ones that want to do the right thing and are willing to stand up and start actually doing the right thing for the right reasons, I want to give them solid ground to stand on.
Yeah.
I want them to know that they have some watchdogs back home, and they're going to be guarding the castle. And when they do things right, they're going to bark that out. When they do things wrong, guess what? They're going to bark that out too.
Yeah.
So it creates that accountability. It's about an employer-employee relationship.
Yes.
Do not become friends with a politician.
Right here. Hey friend, there's something you should know. Politicians don't love you, and you shouldn't love them. It's weird and embarrassing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't do it. They're not your friends.
Yeah.
They're not your friends. They're politicians.
Right. Yes.
They want you to think that they care.
Yes.
But unless their actions are congruent with their words, they don't. And when they make excuses to you and whine to you about how difficult it is at the State House, no, it doesn't have to be. It is because you are complicit and you're too scared to stand up and fight.
Yeah, that's absolutely. That's, so I said, it's like, maybe not everybody is a business owner or whatnot, but most everybody's got a job. Imagine if you went into your job every day for the last 8 years. JD's been in government for the last 8 years. He's been an employee for us. And imagine if every day for the last 8 years you went into your job and you said, I'm going to do these things. I think we need to do these things at work, and I'm going to do them. But then you never got them done. You never did anything. And you basically just floated along doing just half-assed work for 8 years. And every couple of years, you would give your boss, a whole list of things that you were going to do. What Brandon and I always talk about is the fact that we live in a state, right, wrong, or indifferent right now, where we have a super duper duper majority of Republicans. They all run on a load of crap because there are 150 state senators and state representatives. There are 50 senators and there are 100 representatives. Out of that, there are 110 of them are Republicans and 40 are Democrats. They should be able to go in 1 year and completely get everything done on the Republican agenda and then start all over the next election cycle and say, hey, we've got new stuff. We're ready to write another whole list of shit we can tell you. We shouldn't be running on the same Republican things for 10 years. When that's happening, that they're full of shit, because they have the means and the opportunity to get these things done, but they're just not wanting to do it. So if you did that with your job, you would be fired. You know what I mean? And so there's just no reason that we should allow our employees to do this to us. And that's what you're saying there. I love this watchdog idea that you guys have, where you're talking about, holding the legislators accountable for their actions and having that employer-employee relationship, in-person meetings once a year. We all have them. You all have them with your bosses or the people that you work for you, however you're set up in life. 2 or 3 other points of dialogue in person, either emails, phone calls, and report back to the team, the PAC, and your community what you're finding out. Kind of like a, hey, this is what I'm hearing from our employee. I love this idea that you're having going. And I think that, so anyone can just join up and do this.
We have an application form on the website. I'd kind of like to talk to people. I don't want to have a bunch of people who are going to turn soft on me.
Yeah.
Because I'll just cut you from the pack. Like,
I love it.
I mean, I'm not playing around. I got things to do. When I started in politics, I was so naive. A whopping 3 years ago, I told my mentor, and he tried not to laugh at me, but he did. I told him I was going to fix medical liberty in 5 years, and then I was going to move on to healthcare reform. And now I look back and it's absolutely insane. But I do think this year, this is number 4. This is going into year number 4. We are in a prime position to do some serious work. I mean, truthfully, every time I meet with legislators, it's so funny because some of them won't even meet with me, even ones that, I was supposed to be on good terms with. They don't want to meet with me because they know I'm going to hold them accountable. And I've called them out already. And I met with one legislator who is amicable, and the individual goes, you certainly do have some legislators terrified of you down there. And I said, good, they should be. I said, I'm a very intense person. I'm very like all in, I said, I can either be all in for you or I can be all in against you. I was like, it's your choice. And I said, and this individual's, I think it's very difficult because they are surrounded in politician soup, right? They're down there. I kind of correlate it with a college experience. You're down there, you're with all these people 4 days a week. A lot of them are separated from their families. It's long days. There's a lot of information coming at you. And so they do forge relationships with each other. But the problem is they fall into this group think, this lemming mentality, and they just follow the leader because they got to pay to play. And I called this legislator out, and I do actually like this person. And I said, I go, you're a Christian, yes? And they're like, yes. And I said, you judge, because he goes, oh, there's always going to be somebody mad at us. This is our joke. And I'm like, okay, hold on a second though. You're a Christian. You judge your actions primarily by the 10 Commandments. And he said, yes. And I said, as a legislator, your guide to whether or not people have the right to be mad at you is if you hold your actions up to the Constitution. If you're not in congruency with the Constitution, they have every right to be mad at you.
Right.
Those are the voices you should be listening to.
Yeah.
When they're mad at you for being out of line with the Constitution, with small government, that is when you need to pay attention. And it was interesting to watch the facial expressions because it's like he got it. And so I was very thankful to be able to have that conversation. And I think that's the mindset that we really have to frame this as a legislator. Their rules to live by are the Constitution.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's not
simple.
I mean, so that's what I'm going to be preaching on to them. So people can just go visit Watchdog or h4ml.org/watchdogs. They can click I'm in, or they can download the worksheet, and then they'll have a little application that I want them to fill out. We'll probably have a conversation, and then I'm working with an individual who has some experience with interrogation and different tactics that they can use, because they do circle speak a lot, and they obfuscate. I can never say that word. I should choose something different.
Obfuscate. Yeah.
Obfuscate. Yeah, whatever. But they hide that little piece of information that they don't want you to know. And I want to help people. It's not that you're being mean. You're holding them accountable. And sometimes that means doing something that's difficult. If I let my children, yesterday, perfect example. My daughter was playing on her technology and she hadn't gotten her chores done. And I'm like, you have 2 choices. You can either put that down and go get your chores done, or you're going to lose it. And she messed around and kept it. And so I went and snatched it, and I was like, okay, you're done for a week, meltdown, tears, crying, all the things. And I'm like, no, suck it up. And so, you kind of have to treat these legislators the same way because they are up a lot on a lot of opposition. And I was told point blank, Ashley, do you realize what you're asking me to do is probably going to cost me greatly? And I said, if you don't do it, it's going to cost you greatly because it's the right thing. He goes, this is a different legislator a couple years ago. He goes, you do realize that organization will walk in and drop a $30, $40, $50, $60,000 check into campaigns, right? And I said, I don't care. You're not here to represent them. I was a lot nicer because, sometimes you got to be a little bit nicer, but I was like, it doesn't matter. I said, this is the right thing to do. And this is what we should be doing. I said, I'm not willing to compromise on my morals and beliefs based on how much money somebody's going to throw at you. And so it is difficult. And I know that they get browbeat, by the caucus, by leadership. They play those petty little high school games and they target, somebody. They'll have the Mean Girls Club gang up on them and all this.
They move their office down. They literally do everything that you could imagine being done in a very frat boy, high school, college type of mean girl type of environment. And it's a very hard thing to overcome, but right is right and wrong is wrong. It's pretty black and white. Yeah. And I think Kate popped something in there about $500,000 spent to get John Jacobs out. It was much more than that, Yeah. I think it was, it was a lot more.
Millions.
I think that it was $900,000. I always forget the name of the woman that beat him. For the love of
Julie McGuire.
McGuire. I used to have that. And I always said that if I was John, I would go get that. I would go get her form, her election finance form, and I would have it printed up on like gold leaf paper and like print it and put it above I would wear that as a badge of honor. I mean, that is amazing to see the amount of money that they dropped on him.
Yeah. And a lot of slander. I mean, truthfully. So, John and I worked really closely together as well as Kurt Knisely. I mean, Kurt Knisely was a great mentor for me. And John and I always had an amazing working relationship, and it was difficult for me. And I'm Catholic, and they brought up the whole Catholic issue and stuff like that. And he's always treated me with the utmost respect. We have different beliefs. And I think, that gets in the way with politics a lot. Some people get mad at me because I won't take on other issues, or they're really concerned about the abortion issue with medical liberty and how that's going to cross over. And I walk this very fine line sticking with that single issue for those exact reasons. And John always did not just what I asked. I mean, obviously there was conversation, but he would always work with me and go after these things to do what was right. And so it was very difficult for me to see him slandered in that way, because that never came into the play. John never spoke down to me, nothing. So I actually, came out and defended him because I could not have asked for two better legislators to start out my political career with. And it was just, there were a lot of, late nights calling back and forth on the phone, working on amendments, stuff like that. They were always amazing to work with. And really just from the conversations that we had, you could tell that they truly, genuinely cared, and they wanted to do the right thing for the right reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. And like I said, there were times that I disagreed with John, or and not so much Kurt. There were a few things I disagreed with, but I really agreed with him on most things. But I always tell everybody that, first of all, in politics, if you say that you agree 100% of the time with somebody, you're lying. And if you say that you disagree 100% of the time, you're a liar. That's, you don't agree with your husband or your wife 100% of the time. You don't agree with your kids or your parents or your
best
brothers
friend.
and sisters.
Yeah.
100% of the time. That's stupid. So when people say that, I'm like, no. There's no point in that. That's dumb. But yeah, absolutely. So, that's, yeah, you're right that they were two good people for you to be able to kind of, cut your teeth working with. That's really good. So, what I had this pulled up because I wanted to make sure that we got it up and we made sure that we corrected the record here and made sure that, because it's just great to watch. So stand by. We're gonna watch this beautiful scene here, just briefly play out here.
That you can't gather in groups larger than 25. Or at all. Who enforced this in Wayne County?
None of what she's talking about in the bill. I mean, just
none of what she's talking about is in the bill, he says.
What not?
It is.
None of it's in the bill. No, it's not.
Go look at the administrative rules and see what the health department has the powers to do.
Wait a second.
They're contingent. You're interrupting my time. I was patient and silent the whole time you spoke.
But I was honest.
And show me where I'm wrong. Show me where the health.
I love it because Brandon laughed, and he heard Brandon laugh, and he looked over and he's like, all right, I got like an ally laughing with me. And he made eye contact and realized it was Brandon. And then it was like, oh shit, it's Brandon. He's not laughing with me. He's laughing at me.
Yeah. And I think most of the people in that room felt the exact same way.
Yes.
I mean, it was intense to feel the feedback and the comments from the crowd.
Yes.
So he didn't actually call me a liar, but he pretty heavily insinuated that, didn't he?
Yeah, no.
I cannot add that to the administrative rules.
They cannot have a callback provision through administrative rules. That have to go through the budget agency.
To be eligible for funding,
and
they have
you lay
to
it out.
follow the rules. Do you want the code so you can look it up?
I can look it up.
I can look it up. I thought, no. You don't get away with that.
Can you give us the codes?
Sure. Indiana Code 1646-10-6. That's the eligibility.
And there you go. You know what? It's that easy that you bring. JD didn't offer any reason why he was telling the truth and you were lying other than his words. You come at him with the words and the factual information, and then you say, do you want the codes? And he's like, I can look it up. And he's like, no, whatever. And some crazy person in the audience says, give us the codes. And there you do it. You lay it all out there. I mean, that is what I want. I say the same thing that you say on here when you said, you want people to go do the work. I don't consider myself a journalist. I consider myself a political commentator. So I talk about a lot of opinions and do a lot of things like that. And so when I'm doing that, I understand that, I might not always cite sources because sometimes I can't burn sources here or there, but I trust the people that I talk to and I ferret it out and I do the work. And I know what I'm telling you is I'm not going to say something that I'm not working my ass on, to prove is right. And I try to lay out where people can find it. And at the end of the day, they can choose to believe me. If they do believe what I'm saying, great. If they don't, go look for it. And, then you make the call. And if we have a difference of interpretation, that's one thing. But very rarely will someone tell me that I'm just wrong. And that's what I love about what you did there. And I just think that that's good. And I just like that people be able to hear your story because, again, you've only been doing this for a couple of years, and for you to feel comfortable enough to do that and not everybody's going to do that. You're obviously extroverted, maybe you disagree with that. I don't know, but you got up in front. I know people that there ain't no way you're not going to do that with them at gunpoint. They would be like, just shoot me. That's just not going to happen. So those people, they need to fire off emails. They need to fire off phone calls. They need to people need to do what they can do, but we all have a role to play, and we can play our part, and that's very important.
So the funny thing is I read that code off of a sheet, a handout that I brought for the people in the audience. So the people in the audience already had, well, half of them, because they didn't print enough, half of them already had all of that information that I was saying, and how I like to do things. And I know I gave you the texting number, but how I like to do things, if you are concerned about medical liberty, you text us the word spotlight, and we will add you to our it's not a group chat. I hate group chats. Don't ever add me to a group chat, dear Lord. But we will add you to our text messages. You'll get text alerts, especially during legislative season, and I'll break it down. This is the bill number. This is what's going on. This is why it's bad. Here's who you call, and here's an idea of what to say. And then I link that to the blog so you can go read more, because I don't want you to just take my word. Go read the information, digest it, ask questions, whatever, and then go take it to the legislators, because that is where change happens. Because I'm a very confident individual. I have no problem speaking my mind. In 6th grade, I was called Ashley. I tell it like it is, my last name. And that was my nickname from my teacher. Because I would just say what I was thinking, and sometimes that would get me in trouble, but it's worked out well for me in life. So not everybody can do those things and speak extemporaneously and have those arguments back and forth, but it doesn't require that. And it's not really, I just had this conversation with somebody, and I'm so glad this is coming up. It's not about always being right.
Yes.
It's about having the being willing to go sit down, to have that conversation. And if you don't have the answer, it's okay. An appropriate response to a question that you don't know is to say, hey, you know what? I don't have the answer to that. Let me get back to you, and then actually follow up with them. And also ask yourself, are they asking me this question in order to confuse, to get me off track, to distract me? Why are they asking me, this question? And really internalize that and think that, because it's such a good tool for them to make you feel stupid so that you'll shut up, and JD, he sat there and he kept on riveting me. And, I chastised him, and I kind of went into mama mode and was like, look, I get, you could play the clip if you want, but I just was like, I listened to you. I was very patient and respectful. And now you're, interrupting me. And again, the people there were like, yes, they were upset too. So it was interesting.
I love it. I love it. I think that's amazing. And I just want to say, for this text message now, folks, it's Indiana only. It's obviously on the screen, but this is not going to matter to you. We've got some loyal listeners that are not from Indiana. So I get it, but this will not matter to you. It will not affect you in any way. So this is only for Indiana. But for those of you that are in Indiana, this is a great thing to do. And if you are interested in being in this, she's got to set up to where if you text, it's linked to Spotlight so she can know where people came from. So if you put that in there and you put in, if you text the word Spotlight to the H4ML there, they will be able to know that where you came from. And that will be a good kind of a good tool for you to have, especially if this is something that you guys are going to start. I get so many people that ask me, where can I begin? Where can I start? And this is a good place to start. We got so many people that are, so interested in bitching about Trump and Biden and Nancy Pelosi and how many times McConnell is going to freeze up or whatever's going on, and it's like, that's great. But these people are touching you and your lives and your freedoms and your liberty and your wallets so much more and so more vastly. And the negative impact is so much greater, in my opinion. That if we start working on these people, this is what we need to start doing. So yeah, I love it. is there, we've been on here for a while, and I don't want to hold you. I know it's getting late. Is there anything that we haven't talked about, or anything that you would like to mention? Find education on Varus Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System free at varusproject.com. And then, of course, for nurses at mendingvaccinesafety.net. Is there anything else that we have not covered that you would like to get out or would like the people to know?
Yeah, I appreciate Kate so much for putting that up there. As one of the things that, Hoosiers for Medical Liberty not only wants to advocate in the legislative realm, but we do provide a lot of education. And one of the things that's really very little known is the vaccine adverse event reporting system. And all of us have had people who've been impacted by the vaccine, and they need to be reporting those adverse events, whether they think it's related to the vaccine or not, to the VAERS system. As a nurse, this is a high priority to me, because if we don't collect this data on what's happening now, we're going to lose it to history. And we can't afford to do that. There's going to be a lot of health issues that continue. And so by going in and making those reports and staying up on that, that's going to be really helpful. The problem is most healthcare professionals, though they are federally required to report to it, they don't know about VAERS. And so the VAERS Project, or VAERSproject.com, will have all the information for free. You can go download it. You can share it with medical professional friends. Anybody can read it, though. And then there are courses that I've invested a lot of time on my own personal website, mendingvaccinesafety.net, that just really break it down. It's a video format, slides, downloads, all the fun things. So check that out. If you have questions, shoot me a message on social media or email or whatever. And we'll get you helped out, because that's a really important thing. But most of all, just know that you have the right to say no. You have the right to refuse. Bodily integrity is important. And I truly believe that 2024 legislative session, we have just a huge opportunity to make a difference, and we need your help. So hop on the text alerts. If you want to be a watchdog, check that out. I'm happy to help.
Absolutely. I love that. This was definitely supposed to be an interview that Brandon was part of. Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon, as I've been saying, he is away on special assignment, and when he gets back, we're going to have some amazing things. Unfortunately, he was not able to be a part of this. I feel like we could probably talk to you for another 4 or 5 hours, so I would love to have you back anytime. Definitely want to have you back when Brandon is on, and so that way Brandon can ask some questions and get some information from you, because I know that he is, really into what you do. And we would like to, we're not trying to break in and steal your thunder or whatever, but
no, man, no, you're helping me out.
However we can, specifically with the Watchdog group, that's definitely something that we're in. I was like, man, we got to steal that from her. That's great. I love it. That's a great thing. We just need to get people on board. I think that's amazing. But I do have to ask you one final question for Brandon.
Hold on 1 second. Let me say one more thing on Watchdogs. Feel free, any groups in Indiana out there fighting for liberty, feel free to use this. Eventually, once I get things refined and my program really set up, I'm going to be making that available to other organizations, so they can pop this program up and run it, plug and play, man. When I struggle with something, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to help other people do it, because when you succeed, I succeed. And so be on the watch out for that. But now ask me the question for Brandon. I'm kind of scared.
You're fine. And you can talk for as long as you want. I just don't want to, I know it's getting late.
I need to go to bed. Yeah.
I know that's going on. Like I said, I could do this till tomorrow morning, but no, I just wanted to ask the question for Brandon, because one of the big things that's been a big issue between Brandon and JD is, it was back in February, JD and another associate of ours, Joshua Kimbrell, Brandon and Joshua Kimbrell, went to a legislative update. JD and Scott were there. I think they were dressed alike on that day too. It's really cute how they do that. And they got there, and they were trying to not let Brandon and our associate in, because they had a camera, and they were like, no, you cannot be here. This is private property. And it's like, it's a legislative update, man. It's open to the public. Are you kidding? And like they called the police out. It was a big ordeal. The police said, no, it's private property. But when you open it up and you make it a public event, it's open to the public. Now, what's strange about that, and what you may not know, is JD had a public event this past weekend, a public picnic where he invited everybody to bring their families and their friends. And this associate went, and they called the police, and he's now being charged criminally for trespass. This is a state representative, folks, JD Prescott, who's running. He will be running for office next year. He'll be wanting your vote. And there was a man with a camera, didn't have a gun, wasn't there going crazy, wasn't yelling and naked, screaming from the rafters, wasn't running around calling people names. I mean, he's got that capability, but he wasn't doing that this day. And they had him arrested for trespass. And he wasn't arrested. The police came, they made him leave. They gave him the warning. They made him leave. He felt he was good. He left when he was asked. And now he finds out today he's being charged. They filed the paperwork up to the prosecutor's office, and they're literally charging him with misdemeanor trespass. It's a joke. It's sick. It's disgusting. And that's your representative, folks, JD Prescott. So when you go to vote District 33, keep that in mind, But the question is, the first time that he was trying to do this, Brandon asked him about, I believe it was 1001, and I know I might have this wrong.
No, you're right. 1001.
And he asked Brandon asked him about, have you heard of anybody losing their jobs because of this? Because Brandon has hard factual proof of real life living people that have been affected by this. And I know these people. It's not for me to say who they are. Maybe Brandon will someday, but he's not right now. But I'm telling you, if you trust me any at all, people, I'm telling you, Brandon is telling the truth. JD called him a liar too, said, you're lying. That's not true. Being in the position that you are, being a nurse, doing what you've done, do you have any information? And again, you're not going to give specifics, but do you just have personal knowledge of information that can refute what JD said, calling Brandon a liar? Have you heard of anybody that has been personally affected? They've lost employment or lost other things because of 1001.
Yep, absolutely. And it's crazy because not only did 1001 fail, that was in 2022, not only did it fail to protect people's jobs, because they were still refusing to accept exemptions, even though they were required. They were still refusing to accept exemptions, and this burns my buns. Okay, burns my buns. They legalized discrimination.
Yes.
Okay, so previously, what we were doing is people would be forced to test, and we'd have them file a complaint with the either Indiana Civil Rights or the EEOC. And a lot of times that would kind of be handled and be back and forth, But once 1001 passed, it was legal in the state of Indiana for employers to require twice weekly testing if you used a religious, medical exemption, had prior immunity. And it's absolutely insane. And the problem is so this bill was specifically for COVID, right? Which is good and bad because, I don't want people to have to be tested twice a week for the flu, right?
Right.
And that's not current in code. However, this does set precedent. And they work off of precedent so often that it is scary. And so this is something that really needs to be rectified. This should not be on the code like that, because they could continue as long as it's COVID-19 or the remnants of. They're going to be able to test these people. I know people who had severe damage to their nasal passage, their nasal passages, constant nosebleeds, severe pain, migraines. The tissue up there is incredibly sensitive. You can't, no matter how long and skinny your fingers are, you can't reach up there. It's not designed to be touched.
Right.
So we have this repeated trauma scarring. I'm sure that we're going to continue to see just from the physical act of doing it, barring anything else. I'm sure we're going to see negative repercussions as a result of this continuous testing. And so it's so screwed up. We did have a bill written last year to help kind of fix that, but I'm just done with all this, and they've pissed me off even more. And I'm done with it. Like, we need bodily integrity. I don't want any damn exemptions. It's not acceptable, because in that bill, Brandon really knows how to get me on a tirade, right? I'm sure he'd be chiming in and harping with me too. But
Oh yeah.
In that bill, there was a long list of organizations or employers that were excluded,
Yes.
that didn't have to offer
Right.
exemptions, and it was just absolutely insane. And then you have natural immunity. You have to retest for antibodies every 3 months, and you have to test twice weekly. That's complete BS, like complete BS. So we're bodily integrity. Call your legislators about it, sign the petition, get those text messages, and 2024, they better watch out, because we're coming in like a wrecking ball.
All right. I love it. I had a state party chairman tell an elected official not to interview with me one time because I was a wrecking ball to their party, and I thought, yes, when they're corrupt,
Score.
hell yes, that's the best thing in the world, So I love it. I agree. And Ashley, you're welcome back anytime. We'll love to help you out. We'll definitely follow you through 2024, and we'll have to have you back on to talk some more when Brandon's here, and we'll see who else that you've been being mean to.
Okay, sounds good. You guys just let me know.
All right. Welcome. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Ashley Grogg from Hoosiers for Medical Liberty. Again, check her information out. You can still text her there. You can do that, write all that stuff down. We will keep these here for a little bit. Hoosiers for Medical Liberty, Watchdogs. This is a kick-ass group. And then Bodily Integrity is Medical Liberty. There's that as well. Hey, we're not anywhere close to being done, though, folks. We're going to try to go through this quickly because I know it's late and I'm not wanting to keep you guys here forever. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hold the Henry County news off until tomorrow. We'll do a bigger show on it tomorrow because I'm going to hopefully have some more information on it. So we're going to get rid of the Henry County stuff. Matter of fact, I figured it would go that way to begin with, so I got rid of it before the show even started. But now we're going to get into the big Delaware County news of the day. And that is day one, Delaware County 2024 budget meeting. It was a long one, and it was a pretty big one. It was pretty contentious. It was pretty crazy, if you will. I want to do a couple things here to help blow this along. So we've got some blow-ups we're going to look at. I'm going to share this here for you. So it was on, ladies and gentlemen, the Delaware County's YouTube page. Our YouTube page in Delaware County is not as hard to follow or to find as Henry County's. Henry County's YouTube page is almost impossible. Delaware County's is a little bit easier, but not much. So for the rest of these budget meetings, if you want to watch this, Delaware County Government is what it's called, but you type that in and a lot of other things pop up. You can also find the links to this. I will share that in our YouTube, on our YouTube community side. I shared it on the community page. If you go to our community page, I'll show you this here real quickly. This is what it looks like. I shared Essentially, I shared day one of Delaware County budget meetings. Segment one is what it was. Okay, day one, segment one. And so that's what was going on there. Look, I fixed it because at first it wasn't like that. So we had day one, segment one, and day one, segment two. Okay, so that's how they had it broken up, and it'll be there. I don't know how many segments they'll have the rest of the time. This is where we're, and that's the thing. So I want to tell everybody, and this is what the horrible elected officials said when they were like, we don't want a live stream. They were going to be like, nobody's going to watch this. These are boring. All right, listen, the budget meetings are boring. If you just sit down at 8:30 in the morning and say, I'm going to watch this until 8:30 at night, you will be clawing your brain out. That is, unless you are like a major lover of politics and it gets you excited like me or some other people that I know. Okay, the audio is much more advanced. Even the video is much more advanced. But what
It's
you need
boring,
to understand.
but how many views does this have so far?
Oh, I'm afraid you ask. It's not much. It's currently has 262 views.
Well, it just ended 3 hours ago.
Yeah, 262 views for 3 hours ago, and that was just the first one. The second one, let me tell you what the second one has. The second one has oh wow, the second one has 308 views.
Wow.
So it is what it is. And that will get more views through the week. And what they're doing here, folks, and you can find these, and I'll put these up there with it. This is a schedule. So basically what it says is, let me get to page one. Page one, damn it. Page one, 9 a.m., 8:30 a.m. public hearing, 8:45 data department, 9:10 Purdue extension, 9:35 treasurer, 9:30 surveyor, 9:45 assessor, 10 o'clock recorder, 10:15 Delaware County Muncie Planning Commission, 10:30 coroner's office, 10:45 visitors bureau, 11 fair board, 11:15 office of information, 11:30 EMA emergency management, and so on and so forth. Lunch was from 12:45 to 1:45. 1:45
same
is
schedule tomorrow, Christopher.
Sheriff. Yeah, same schedule for tomorrow. And so that's, you can see it. Well, so you can go in there. For the people that are interested to know what's going on with the Sheriff's Department budget, go watch the Sheriff's Department time. For the people that want to know what's going on, who are your council members pushing for? Who are they fighting for? What's going on? I want to tell you guys something. Listen to this. This is big information. Folks, this budget, all right? This budget is they need to cut $7.25 million from the budget. Just the general fund alone was $6 million over. They need to cut $7.25 million from this budget. Let me be very clear. A lot of people in Delaware County are going to be upset. They're going to be pissed off. There are going to be people crying probably. They're going to, I'm not going to say what I think might happen, but we are going to have a very, very unhappy Delaware County employment in the next couple coming days and weeks. This is going to get crazy. It was, yeah, they're going to have to do some work. What's crazy to me today is they didn't want to cut anything today. They didn't want to cut anything. They were like, oh, let's just sit around and listen. I don't know when they think that this is going to happen. They're going to go in overnight, and the ferries are going to have went in and, cut the money ferries, the cutting ferries are going to have went in and cut $7 million from the budget. And they're going to be like, oh, look, everything's okay. Shoo-wee. They've got some work to do tomorrow. And let me tell you, tomorrow is going to be intense. If you want to watch a crazy day of local government, tomorrow is the day to watch. Okay? So I'm going to use my handy dandy assistant here and tell you what we got going on. All right. So I'm going to start by letting you guys hear the public comments.
Go ahead. I guess Tom did last year. Nearly 30.
Here we go.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. As we start this.
All right, so we have our agenda for the day. The first thing that is our public hearing. We do not have a sign up, so if you just want to go up to the microphone, if you have anything to share for the public hearing, we will entertain that now.
Yes, Alva.
Rick Yenser, newsman and author.
I love Rick.
As we start this, I'd like everybody to know, since no numbers have been posted outside of what's on Gateway, that you want to spend $63 million next year. You want to raise another $1 million in taxes. I think it's time that you consider having a property tax relief measure to help homeowners, businesses, industries. Taxes have repeatedly gone up either because of property assessments raising or just the spending by government and schools. And I think out of the nearly 30 taxing districts, you've got many school corporations that are borrowing money they don't have to renovate old schools. And of course, you saddled taxpayers, some of you saddled taxpayers a few years ago with another bond debt to turn a school into a jail and courthouse. And the courts should have never been moved from downtown. I would hope when you look at what you're doing with taxes, you tell people what you're doing. Because again, there wasn't much notice. At least there's a hearing calendar here and a budget here. But as far as any notice or any actual reporting of what you're doing is very thin. And as far as procedure, I've said this before to others, and this government too, that it behooves you to have public hearings when people are available, not when they're working or in school, because 8 o'clock hearings aren't going to attract anybody other than people like me that over half a century know what government schools are doing, and they're just taxing us and spending money that you don't have. So hopefully we'll find some more answers when we go through the budget here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like Yenser. He gets up and he tells it how it is. Hey, the newspaper sucks. They're not reporting anything. The government kind of sucks. They're not reporting anything. They're having meetings at 8 o'clock in the morning. You all suck. Cut some money. Don't spend stuff. Let us know what you guys are doing. You suck. All right. Have a good day. I love Rick. So, all right. They get going here, and it's pretty standard.
Anyone else that would like to speak?
Boilerplate stuff they do. No one else speaks.
Right, hearing none,
I was kind of mad about this because on their agenda it says the public hearing time was scheduled at 8:30 and it was open until 8:45, which is only 15 minutes. Well, they already know nobody's going to come. They only opened it for 15 minutes, but then they didn't even let anybody speak. I mean, nobody was there to speak, but what if somebody was coming there at 8:40? You know, they're like, all right, Rick's here. He's done. We're done. All right, let's go on. Now, I get it. Nobody was there to speak. It is what it is. I feel like they should have left the floor open till 8:45. Just my opinion. I'll stop. Let's go.
Go ahead and move on. Something that's not on our agenda, but I'd like to have the auditor's office take a few minutes. They passed out a sheet of paper to us council members, and I believe it's going to go out to the audience as well here soon. No, he's got print offs. So going through the numbers, we finally have official numbers from the DLGF, and we will go over what we need, what decisions need to be made today. I guess, Tanya, do you want to explain this, or you've done such a good job with me, I figured.
Good morning, council. I'd like to start out with some key factors that go into this year's budget. The estimated revenue in general is up 700,000. I went over revenue 3 times hoping to find more, but I didn't. Estimated fall tax collection is up 451,000. However, our July through December estimated expenditures and new appropriations are also up about $2 million from last year's second half. Our June 30th cash balance is 1.1 million less than what we had last year as of June 30th, and our December 31st balance compared to last year's estimated December 31st balance is down by 1.3 million. Last year, council appropriated
All right, so she
404,000.
speaks. We get going here. They get
already know
people
that
up
the
to
commissioners
bat.
did not put in their budget for that.
And they start off, they've got data entry, Purdue
We're in the first
Extension,
department.
and it goes pretty smoothly. They're getting
Okay.
up, and people's just rattling
Well,
off the numbers,
Any
and
increases?
they're
Yeah.
basically not talking
And-
about cutting anything. I mean, if you're interested in data, Purdue Extension, treasurer, surveyor, assessor, you need to go through and you need to watch this. Okay. So you need to watch this if you're interested.
that's
I'm going to
certainly
show
something we
you
could-
a couple of the blow up points, a couple of the points where there were back and forth between the council members and either each other or the council members and the department heads. And then this is going to be this is kind of like a pre-meeting kind of. They had a pre-meeting last week. This is like where they kind of figure out where everybody stands. And then from here, tomorrow is when it works. And tomorrow is when we'll be watching in pretty close detail, and we'll be able to go through this. And then, of course, we won't have Ashley on, so we'll be able to go through all of this for pretty closer to kind of what's going on. Of course, we got 12 hours here, folks, so we're not going to get 12 hours out in a 2-hour window. So we're just going to hit some of the top points, all right? One of the first blow-ups we're going to go to is at 2 hours and 37 minutes into it. And that's going to be at about 10:45, 10:50 with the Muncie Visitors Bureau. Okay, so stand by here 1 second. We're gonna go there. Here we've got the assessor. It was interesting to listen to people who like were up here and like really nervous and hadn't been up here before and you know, new people. Okay, so one of the things that everybody so here's
To Muncie Visitors Bureau
Just
coffers.
directly distributed.
Yes.
So you don't maintain any, we don't, the auditor's office doesn't maintain any balances.
It basically goes in and out.
It's a kind of a, what do you call that, a pass-through?
Thank you.
Well, looking at this at first glance, for last year and what Jessica said, the increase of $60,000, it would probably be normally a no-brainer because it's an innkeeper's tax, generated fund and doesn't come from the county general fund. But I want to bring something up that my personal issue isn't so much whether the money's there. The money's there, but I think personally that some of the things that you guys have attributed your funds to and promoted are in moral conflict with some of the citizens of this community. So for me, agreeing to an increase, I would like to know what Um,
Oh,
what processes you have in place for how do you guys plan on choosing what events to sponsor and how you plan on spending that money? Because I was contacted by a lot of people, and I don't think I'd be doing my job representing those people if I didn't bring it up to you. This is the first chance I've got an opportunity to address it with you. So for me, what can you, I guess, put people's minds at ease that the things that the Tourism Bureau is going to choose to promote and sponsor is a reflection and representative of our community and not offend a large swath of the population.
I'll speak to that. Good morning. I'm Brandon Murphy, attorney for the Delaware County Commission and Tourism Commission. We have a fund that's the marketing and sponsorship fund that we use to fund a variety of different programs. The idea behind this organization is to maximize our innkeeper's tax and promote events that will also bring people to the community. And so some examples of other types of events and organizations that we have supported include Ball State University Sports, Minnetrista, the Delaware County Fair, all of which received sums of money in excess of the one I know that you are concerned about, Councilman Webb. I'll let Mr. Kirby speak to the actual process we use, but I know we evaluate each request we get for funding. You can speak to that.
Yes, as an application process. Some people call in, some people just go online and respond to the request to submit something for consideration. And those come in and then are evaluated based on what the request specifics are, and then decided to be supported or not supported.
The board also, the board does have to support your decisions. Is that not correct? Monies that are allocated.
and basically,
The board
ladies
has
and
to-
gentlemen, what we're talking about here, for those that don't know, and we can come down on all of this later. I'm just letting you know where everything's falling on the budget. What this is basically the Visitors Bureau. The gentleman that works for the Visitors Bureau is an outsider. He was brought into Delaware County. They did this great big 2-year long search looking for him. They finally found a guy that they said, hey, here's somebody that knows Muncie and Delaware County really well, an outsider. And they brought him in, and he's going to sell to the Hoosiers all the great things about Muncie. And what Councilor Webb is asking about is he's saying, if you guys want us to, we don't pay you through the general fund. You get money through the innkeeper's tax. But if you're wanting for us to vote on, I guess, an increase, I'm wanting to know about, the funding for various, events. There was some question a while back about some events that they had put on, whether or not they were family friendly or not family friendly. And that's what this is about. All right, let's move forward from here.
Well, the board supports the overall support of the funding, but then also there are guidance parameter in terms of how the dollars are spent. So at every board meeting, there'll be discussion on the financials, and we'll go through all the details of what's being supported and what's not being supported.
For me, and again, I'm only one vote of 7. I guess what I'm looking for is some reassurances in the event Mr. Murphy is referencing. I just want some assurances that in 2024, some of the events we're going to be sponsoring doesn't go benefit organizations that do drag shows for children. That's all I'm asking for.
I think that's a
don't
personal
disagree.
matter,
I don't think
Ryan.
it is.
I don't think that
it's
that
relevant. They're asking
pertains
for
to.
$60,000, and I just want to know what they're going to do with the money.
I disagree with your characterization of the event. As you know, we've had correspondence, Councilman Webb, about this event. We disagree. And, the board is aware of your concern. The board will consider your concern. Guidance, parameters that they've used in deciding where this sponsorship money goes. But that's the best answer that we can give.
I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
Do you have any additional questions?
Yeah, I do. What's the balance in this?
Oh, that
You know,
was
spending
that
everything
was Councilor Piper wanting to let them know that she thought that was a personal issue. I mean, like it or don't like it, it was a question that a counselor had They're there to do work, and that's what they're there. I did hear before the meeting that there are some questions, and I'm not going to get into this, and I'm not going to say who, what, where, when, or why, but there are some questions being levied against council members who are asking questions ahead of time as they're preparing for votes and things. There are questions being asked about the legitimacy of them doing their job and asking these questions ahead of time. And I just think that that is complete ludicrousness. Bottom line, all 7 of these people are investigators. They're all detectives. They're all here searching for clues so that at the end of the day, they can vote on this and decide what's right, what's wrong, and if they're going to agree or not agree. And so if someone is mad that we have counselors asking questions, shame on you. Shame on you. Okay. Now, so for our next blow up, we actually are going to jump to the second segment. Okay. And we're going to jump all the way. The first part of the second segment is the Delaware County Sheriff's Department. Starts off the point 2, and I want to give it to the sheriff.
This is what I have to have. If you do either one of those, that may be this afternoon.
Okay, so we're gonna do 20,000 back
In this year,
this year.
okay.
For line 198.
Ladies and gentlemen of Henry County, if anyone's watching from Henry County,
Mhm.
I want to make sure that you're aware. This is what a sheriff looks like. This is a sheriff.
Okay, so we're gonna do 20,000 back
In this year,
this year.
okay.
For line 198. Yeah, part-time.
20,000, remove.
We lost a part-timer earlier this year, and we haven't replaced him yet, so, don't know that what we're gonna look like next year with that, but that's just from this year.
Okay.
I don't know what else out of the sheriff budget.
I'll be honest, I don't want to give you any excess if I have clothing allowance or if I have any of that money, because if we run short with overtime, that's where I have to take
Right.
it from. So I
Could you
hate to
back
give it
up
back
to
now.
line item, 192, please? Just made a comment, on that, and I didn't know what it was that you were. We got $39,000,
Okay, so
highlighted, but I don't.
in that one, I have to take and hedge a bet. People that we just lost didn't have educational incentive or military incentive. I know that some of the people he's hiring now to replace them, they do have it. So I either have to put money into this budget to prepare for that, or then I have to try and steal it from some other line later on throughout the year. And this way, if it doesn't get used, it does come back to you in the general fund, no matter what, but
So Jim, what that is for some, county offices, if we hire somebody that has a, associate's degree, we give them $500 a year. If we hire somebody with a bachelor's degree, I think it's 1,200 a year, and a master's degree is 1,500. And we also do the same thing if somebody is prior military. If they have 3 years or less, it's 500. 4 to 6 is 1,200, and if they have more than 6 years of prior military service, it's $1,500 a year. So that's what that line is for.
Okay. Then you made a comment on line item number 194.
Yep,
I don't
last
know.
week. Yep.
Is Councilor Webb watching this?
we had
Councilor
given that
Webb,
back.
On that, please.
he's
Okay,
going to do,
You want me to
do
re-explain?
you know when he does it?
Please.
Okay, so up until the year 2018, we capped our sick pay, we capped our sick time at 240 hours. So in the jail and on the merit side, we accrue sick time at the rate of 4 hours per month. So that's 6 days a year, or 6 8-hour days a year. It's 48 hours.
Skinner don't need no stinking mirrors. That is true.
After 2018, that rate doubled. So that was through,
I want you to hear
at the
something.
time, an existing UAW contract with our employees. So that contract doubled the amount of sick time that they were allowed to bank. Now it's 480 hours.
Do you buy those cell phones through your department individually, like in terms of like your department buys cell phones for your department only?
Yes, we do buy just for our department. There are a select few in the jail that have them. The jail admin has them also, but they're out of the jail's budget contracts. I'll be honest with you, I try to go with Verizon, whatever the phone is, they'll give us for free.
Those are new asks for 2024, and that equals $6,000. The rest of it is stuff that we're spending. That's the only new ask in there.
Sure, if you can just throw that in with that $100 and some thousand and find that money.
Well, that's where we're at with that. That's where we're at with contracts. Like I said, that's the only new ask for that line.
But to touch base on what, Matt and, Jim were saying, as far as budgeting for what you know it's gonna be, I would be totally open to that with one very important trade-off. And that trade-off would be if we're going to budget for exactly what it is, I would like, something along the lines of, at the end of the month, whatever money isn't used, like for example, uniforms, open position deputy, I'd like for that money to automatically revert back to the general fund versus being pooled to later be transferred. So it would be like a trade-off if we're gonna budget for what the exact amount is, which I guess is the way it probably technically should be done. There needs to be a way to counterbalance that by having money fall off that wasn't used that month, automatically reverts back to the fund.
Here's my only thing. She may have a different perspective. My only thing is, I don't know who's gonna quit. I don't know how many.
So rather than stay in a fund to get transferred somewhere later, might really take, Tony, before you come to needing a vehicle replaced.
So a vehicle used to be, when I got hired, back
Listen
when we
to this.
rode horse and buggies, I mean, I'm serious, we were trading vehicles at 100,000 miles. At 100,000, that was the accepted limit for us to offload those vehicles and get new ones. Now, it's not uncommon for us to have vehicles that are reaching 150, 160,000 miles before they're just completely worn out. Police vehicles are an entirely different, they're treated in a different realm than your personal vehicle, all right, that you drive to Florida. Well, maybe not
Maybe
you.
not mine, but.
But I mean, they're worn out by 150, 160,000 miles. They're completely worn out. And what happens when you get to that point of 100,000 miles or more is they start requiring a ton of maintenance. Stuff starts breaking on them. Decades ago, but it's not written down anywhere. So now the ordinance that we proposed that you had one reading for just says vehicles. It doesn't put a limit on it.
How comfortable are you with your gasoline allowance?
So they're already 50% off.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a specific thing here. Bear with me.
That's what I show. Line,
That's what I got.
What was it?
line 195, part-time.
Yes.
Pay increases didn't help anything.
We're right around here.
Like my highest number for a employee is 161, so you'd have to go to 162.
We can edit it. It doesn't, it doesn't have to happen right here. I stumbled upon that.
Vote,
Okay.
with VIP and how she has to enter
Okay.
everything into the financial system and
Okay.
such. So, she's the person who would say, that will not work. You
Okay,
know what
if
I
it
mean?
works, cool, but
We have.
I
just-
totally see what you're saying. I just don't know how many 100s we have available in this
right.
fund.
Okay.
So we might have to double up for that reason with
If that works in the system, that's fine. It's just, I saw that. and-
We gotta stay in 100. Right.
Okay.
We have to find a 100 number that we don't use at all. 182. Yeah.
Details. Anyways, I saw that and I just,
Each line item, she put it into one line.
This week about when they first get hired, we do our best to recycle uniforms from people who have resigned or quit or been fired or retired or whatever. So we recapture those uniforms, the ones that are still in good repair, and we issue those to brand new employees. Once they've been through their training packet and that takes 3 or 4 months, however long it takes, and we realize, okay, this person, there's a good chance they're gonna stick around a while, then we go buy them new uniforms. And then at the 1 year mark, they're eligible to start receiving clothing allowance. But in their first year,
Tanya, this is gonna be a two-part question. I have a question for you, and then obviously I'm
and it would take me
What'd
a
you say it
minute
was?
to do the math.
480,000.
I was thinking we had that.
Hang on, I'm gonna.
It'll get a lot faster once
You
this
probably have room for some out-of-county inmates even once.
we go
you
through
fill
this
with
point.
With the federal system.
As all four together, we're still looking at 720, 925 more than the amount of lit.
To budget that amount of money. The person sitting in this line doesn't take that, so.
Okay. How
that
long
could
is it?
change if they
Yeah.
were
Sure,
to
if they
leave
get
and someone
married
else
and have
comes
children
in,
or
you're right,
whatever,
you
yes.
know.
But a lot of times though now, because of the carve outs, whoever they marry, unless they're not working, wherever they work at, they have to take that insurance, so.
Yeah, isn't that our insurance doesn't cover spouse, right? If they have options somewhere else.
Correct. It's spousal carve out. But he could still, he or she, in this case, it's a he, if they'd have a child, he could be the one carrying the insurance for the child if that would happen.
I think we're good on that one. What's the last one? Page 69 and 70, and this is the jail local income tax.
We must have missed it.
We went over 300,000 for the money generated for this year alone.
They are.
They are.
Okay.
Well, damn. Okay, so here's what I was wanting to show you, and this is what sucks. Here's the deal.
Basically from
he-
January to
this
December
this
year,
gentleman,
over
this sheriff,
$281,000
gave
less
up
Right.
than what we had
his
projected at the
raise
500,000.
So that's part of the issue,
for
and we're a
next
little
year.
less than what we thought we'd
Just
have.
straight up not
So
being
next year,
asked.
we
He just
reduced that as
said, I know
well,
we're looking to get,
because
you guys are
I
looking
asked
for
him
money.
about it, and I said,
And
well, if
he
we're
stepped
reducing
up to
this
the
year
plate.
because of how
He
just
wasn't
how
saying,
things
well,
go.
I need mine and I'm going to ask my guys and we're going to cut cars and we're going to do this, but I need mine. What a leader does is a leader says, hey, we got a hole in the boat. How can I help? What can I do? He steps up and he leads from the front. This man, ladies and gentlemen, is a true sheriff, is a true public official, is a true leader. And John Sproles needs to take some serious pointers from this man here. Absolutely could take a lot of pointers from this man. Okay, so moving on from there, okay, we're going to go to our second big blow up, and that is at about 2 hours, and we'll go just a little bit beforehand. This is the commissioners are okay. So the commissioners have a budget. And if you all remember when we spoke to Ryan Webb, Councilor Webb, on Friday, he was talking about them having an amount of money for they were talking about having an amount of money for the commissioners to pay for various things, and basically the council not be able to have a say in what they were. And what Ryan was saying was basically Ryan came up with a figure off the top of his head. He told us point blank, I don't have the book in front of me, so I don't know any of these exact figures. But let's just say the commissioners have $1 million that they're going to put into this fund. Essentially, what it would be like is similar to like the mayor's edit fund, but it's where they're going to be able to go to, and they're going to be able to pay all these contracts out, and they're going to be able to pay this person, or that person, and this person without having to come to the council and ask for appropriations. And basically what that's doing is that's skirting the process. That's them technically, in my opinion, and they might call it something else. Somebody else might call it something else, but that's them budgeting more than what they need in a fund that then they can say throughout the year, if we want to do something without getting any approval or without having anybody else step in besides James King and Shannon Henry, without having, without having more than 2 people look at it and vote, without having the citizens be involved and being able to talk to the commissioners and the council. We want to have this fund where we can do whatever the hell we want to do with it, and that's that. And so Councilor Webb brought up, like, I don't think that's a good idea. Well, because he threw out an arbitrary number, Commissioner King lost his head over it. Now, keep in mind, Commissioner King doesn't listen to the podcast. Remember, he doesn't like our information that we have on here. Whatever. I know that Commissioner King listens. He's afraid not to. But I want to let you hear this and hear what we have with King here, folks. And this is the commissioners with the council. This is blow up number 2.
Pre-budget meeting. Do we have any additional questions? We do actually, I do have a question on YOC. Has that claim been, or interlocal been signed, or our agreement with the YOC, is that number finalized?
It's not been signed.
Okay. That one
I think
is,
the request that.
On this. I don't know, Wilford Brimley here.
You froze for a second.
He's
there.
John Brook. What?
You froze for a second there. You were just saying on the screen now, you'll see Wilford, whatever.
That's Wilford Brimley in back. John Brook, the attorney. So on the screen, we've got Commissioner Cowboy Kid Shannon Henry up at the podium, and his the new Jenny Honeycutt. We've got James King doing his thing back here in the back, doing what he does back here. And then we've got Wilford Brimley back here worrying about diabetes. So let's rock and roll.
314. So not signed yet, okay.
I believe that was the amount of you was in the.
Yes,
meeting.
yeah,
So we've not heard anything any different.
okay. And then there was the line item for the animal shelter. I know we talked about that briefly. We were gonna go ahead and take that back down to 75 anyway, and the idea is we're going off our 23 budget, but that was either a typo or.
I think it was a typo.
Okay.
Because you guys pay for half and we pay for half.
Okay.
Different ones, actually.
Here we go.
We'd asked for a list of some of the detailed stuff that was in there.
Yep.
And thank you so much for providing that. think the increase went up $100,000. When I was looking into, I had asked something, and this is something that you guys can just educate me on a little bit, on our economic development.
Also, from what he said from the podcast, to, because he said that our contract, Ryan, you said in a podcast that it was sent to me that the commissioner's contractual services was $1 million. I looked at it, it's not $1 million, is it?
No.
It's 250,000, correct?
I don't know what it was. We're talking about a generalization about contractual services.
Yeah,
in
but I
general,
just.
not specifically
Right,
yours.
but for the public, you stated it was $1 million contractual services. I watched it.
You're
And it's,
watching.
and it's not $1 million.
You're intentionally misunderstanding it. What I said was.
But you stated $1 million
I said,
commissioner's
what
budget,
I said,
contractual.
you'll let me finish.
Go ahead.
What I said was, when we have situations such as contractual services, for example, like in the commissioner's budget, where there's a lot of things thrown in there all together. Let me finish. Yes, I put a number on it. And I said, and rather it be an itemized list, let's say it's $1 million. I didn't specifically say that your budget was $1 million.
Right, but I
was going off the top of my head.
I'd
and I
like
was,
for it to be clarified, though. It's not $1 million, correct?
of course it's not $1 million.
250,000.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the.
He
my
sounds
thing,
like
I don't want the public
Sproles.
thinking we have $1 million in contractual
It's $2
services.
million.
I'm not trying to be ugly. James King's his eye gets little. He gets that Muncie eye where one eye is smaller than the next eye, and he does that thing. Yeah, that's exactly right, Stumblefoot. Someone sent me the podcast. I don't ever listen to that thing. Somebody sent it to me. So all right, maybe Ryan overshot the number a little bit. $1,250,000. That's a little bit of a difference. Bottom line is, I don't want these idiots spending $250,000 without asking the council. Period. I don't want two men, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, up here to be able to vote and decide how to spend that money. And for the record, King, either one of you can be Tweedledum. You can be Tweedledum Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Shannon can do it Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm offending both of you at the same time, so it doesn't really matter. Both of you be offended. He wasn't quoting a number. He was throwing out a hypothetical situation. Let me be clear. King, it's only $250,000. Whoever out there in the world is sending this to James King, let James King know. I don't want his dumbass to be able to spend $10. If he wants to spend the money, he can go back and run for council. You know what I mean? Yeah, I've seen, everybody calm down. I've seen I've received this iTeam 8 news story about Sproles, from 900 people. I'm doing some work on it. We're not going to get to it tonight. That's what I'm going to cover tomorrow. But before I play it, I want to do some, I got some other work. I'm trying to get something else that'll go with it. So I know what I'm having two things happen at once. I'm having everyone that hates Sproles, which is a whole lot of people, messaging it to me. But I'm also having the few people that like Sproles being like, ha, look, Sproles is right. Well, let me tell you, tomorrow we're going to say this. Number one, Sproles did say something that was right, and I'm going to give him credit where credit's due. But at the same time, he also gave us proof that he just did something dumb. And it's bigger than the thing that he did right. So we are going to get to it. It won't be tonight. It will be tomorrow. But for all those people that are waiting to see it, I promise you the wait will be worth it. So we are going to get to it. I appreciate it, Road Warrior. Road Warriors who sent it. I appreciate everyone else who sent it to me. And I'm not bitching. Anybody else out there ever has information? Don't worry if 200,000 people send it to me. Send it on because I need it. Because the one time that you might say, someone else will send it to him, they won't, and then you'll have the piece I need. So anyone's free to send it. Never hold something back. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I do have it. We do know about it, but I'm working on something, and it's going to be awesome. So hopefully we'll have some good shit with it. Back to King, making sure that Ryan admits $250,000, Jimmy. $250,000. We're telling everybody. I don't want King and Henry to be able to spend that. I don't want them to be able to spend $25. I don't want King to be able to spend 25 cents.
And we just blow it everywhere.
Well, again,
look, it's bad if you're blowing 25 cents. Jimmy King, if you have 35 pennies and it makes up to 25 cents that you have in your pocket, okay, I don't want you to be able to spend that nowhere. I don't want you to be able to blow it nowhere. Okay. I think that you're borderline incapable of doing most math. And I just do not want you guys to be able to be the people that's doing this. We have a council. They're the fiscal body. You do not need to hold this money. You already have your hands on enough money. You shouldn't control the art money and a whole bunch of other nonsense. So I'm okay. What Ryan Webb did here was okay. Hey, listen, hate Ryan if you want. He's a bad guy. He's done this. He's done this. He's done this. That's great. What he's doing with this is good, man. What he's doing as a council member is good. People cannot like him if they want, but I'm telling you, he asks questions and he does what we want local officials to do.
I think
how everybody takes stuff.
I do, but I think if someone wasn't intentionally trying to misunderstand that, they would understand I was speaking in generalizations. Saying a lump sum, that there's a lot of things in here. I want a detailed list of what it would be, not necessarily that it is $1 million. I just used a round even number. I didn't have the number off the top of my head. If that makes you feel better.
That's all I want to
The number
clarify.
is $250,000.
500,000.
Perfect.
1,000.
Thank you. But what I was getting at, so in that list, I'd also
Before I
asked,
was stupidly interrupted.
one of the things that was brought up, I'd asked about the, because I was trying to figure out not everything that you guys direct is in here. For example, our economic development contract, I think it's like something like $323,000 a year, but that's not in here. That's all out of y'all's edit money. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And is there any other type of stuff that's like in edit money that is like split amongst this, or is it all either one or the other?
There's a bunch out of edit that we pay. I mean, we have $117,000 worth of building projects, building maintenance that we paid out of edit, and that's a rough estimate.
Right.
Again, with we talked about our building maintenance.
All right, on to blow up number 3, and this is with the Public Defender's Office. All right, now we're going to hear people start to strong arm. We're going to hear people start to strong arm the council.
A service corps.
And here's somebody that folks might recognize if you've watched this channel, and if you've watched the other channel, and if you've watched. And who's Jerry Maguire? Tell me who Jerry Maguire is, Andrew Pop. I didn't see the Jerry Maguire. I don't get the Jerry Maguire reference. What? Show me the money. Who are you trying to say? Jerry Maguire represents the judges. Are we talking about Judge Cannon? Are we saying that he is Jerry Maguire? Judge Cannon. Right. That's the last blow up of the night. Bear with me, folks. We're almost through this. I promise. Just a little bit longer. We don't have. Oh no, we're not skipping Spangler. No. We got to do that too.
They make $43,352. You move to Allen County, and they're larger than we are. The person in that position makes
So you'll recognize this. You may or may not recognize this. This is the attorney for Mayor Bob McCoy Attorney Meeks Cockrell, who couldn't attorney himself out of a paper bag, and Kirsten Wallace.
They do not service a court. They do not prepare an annual budget.
They
do
do
not
not
prepare appropriation and transfer requests. They do not maintain account. They just prepare claims for payment.
They do not pass go.
And in
They do
Delaware
not collect
County,
$200,000.
That's Shelley's figure, and she does all of those things. So unless you're in the office, it's hard to understand the amount of time she must spend just servicing a court. It's a lot. It's a lot. So based on this, based on my experience with the Public Defender Commission, we're looking for pay parity and compliance with Standard O. Standard O is one of those standards the Public Defender Commission has. An example of the standard would be the case qualification, the case caps, and they're, yeah. And it was adopted in June of this year, and they're looking for pay parity. And it says the comprehensive plan, which we have, may at the Public Defenders Board discretion require that all full-time salaried public defender support staff receive the same salaries and compensation provided to the support staff in similar positions with similar experience within the prosecutor's office or elsewhere within the county.
Hold up.
Yep.
Could you repeat that? What you just said?
Right here, Ryan, in the
Yeah.
handout.
It's on, Ryan, look on page 26 at the bottom. Or, no, yeah, at the bottom, yeah.
Right.
That's new standard O. It's a new standard as of June. So I'm obligated to present this to the advisory board, and I anticipate that they're going to approve it and amend our comprehensive plan to require pay parity.
Well,
You can see Ryan is starting, his mouth starting to work. I could see it back there. I don't know how many people you could see it because I'm sharing it from a share, but watch, here we go.
all right. I appreciate, obviously, you're gonna do what you're gonna do to get your person their pay, and if we'd had this conversation yesterday, I'd have been on board with you. But in light of what we've come into this morning, but I'm just gonna say this really, and I'm only, again, I always gotta preface my comments, I'm only speaking for me. I don't respond very well to being kind of strong-armed and backed into a corner, and I know you gotta state your legal grounds to make yourself clear. That doesn't really win me over, and I would say this to everybody, if that's the strategy, then I'm gonna have to call your bluff on it and tell you to go for it. And if that's what
It's
we
not
need
a
to do,
strategy, it's an obligation I have.
and I understand that.
I mean, I've got a duty to the advisory board. It's an obligation I have. Also, personally, I'm just telling you, this county does not want to lose Shelley Harvey, and somebody else is gonna hire her away. Yeah, there's already been an attempt, and just out of loyalty, she didn't do it. She can work from home.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you sticking on, Shelley, and you're right, everybody, and she's not alone.
She just ran for clerk last year, so if she would have won, she would have been gone.
Anyone in this room and say, I guarantee either not as much undervalued, but underpaid, and every one of us an integral part of the team. We've got to be careful to continue to put ourselves in position as a county where we are so dependent on one person in that particular role that people feel like the sky is falling if we don't have that person. Every one of us is replaceable, I promise you. It may not seem like it at the time, but we are. And when we get ourselves back in this situations where we are so dependent on one person, that's on us. Now, I will say, it's unfortunate that those stupid $1,000 across the board raises over the course of years has got so many employees such as Shelley and others in this position where they're underpaid, paid crap, and absolutely needs to be fixed. And I'm not discounting that one bit. But when you're hearing, so many folks not potentially getting anything, department heads foregoing their own raises, it's a really tricky request when you're talking $16,000 increase. Not to say that it's not valid and worth it. Is it available? You know what I mean? And
Good question. Relative to the parity piece, what comparable salaries are we looking to compare against in our county? Is that the way this reads?
Prosecutor's office manager and the investigators. So what are those numbers?
I think the office manager's 56 that they're asking for, and the investigators are in their mid to high 50s,
Yeah.
or mid to high 40s.
Yeah, investigators are in the
Yeah,
Jessica,
low to mid 40s.
could you look up and see what the average median
40,
home income is for these counties?
they're 41, the investigators are.
Because this is something we've always ran into. I know when the sheriff's deputies was trying to get their pay increase. I think public defenders, we were trying to get them their pay increase last year, the prosecutors, and we get these comparisons all the time from other counties of similar size of population. But what's never on the list is the fact that we're like 89th out of 92 in average median income. And that's why the pay is lower than what it is in these other counties, because they generate more wealth in those counties. Their property values are rated higher. That means they generate more tax revenue and they pay their people better. Best way for us to get everybody up to the wages they deserve, along with fiscal responsibility, is that we've got to get our average median income up. And that's a long-term problem. It's definitely not happening overnight. That's for sure. And
All right.
I'm sorry, Shelley. What was the other one? Investigator and what?
Prosecutor, manager, man. All right.
125, there's only
Blow
5
up number
items on our
4.
payroll. You know, the clerk's budget was cut years ago to just the
This
necessity.
is Rick Spangler.
So on that
Man.
side of it,
And
you'll also see that I asked for a larger
Councilor
raise
Dan
than
Flanagan.
you guys suggested. And all I say to you on that is, I spent the last 4 years bringing up the lowest paid staff in the court system. And we're still the lowest paid staff, but we're closer than we were before. Give me at least enough to keep me even and competitive with the other court staff. We were the training grounds for the courts for years. I've got a good staff. I want to keep them. They're great. And I want to give them everything they deserve. So I'll play, but I want what everybody else gets.
could you touch base on that first line item 180, or I'm sorry. I mean, we just had an employee that's full-time. Their full salary is 30,000. This is half of that for just a very small window of time in a year that you're saying is only $12 an hour. I don't understand how it equates to that dollar amount.
Look at the hours they work during that small window.
They get, I mean, I guess they get.
Yeah, and
overtime,
the other
is that
side
it?
of that, Ryan, is if we don't use it all, you're gonna get it
Yeah,
back.
I mean, I get it. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to understand it. 'Cause it was such
Yeah,
a-
I understand. I know what you're saying, because it's overwhelming, especially if you compare it to what we're doing right now. But it's
Here we
there.
go.
You know, we put those numbers in there from history.
What are the legal services, Rick?
Well, we didn't used to have to spend much money on legal services, but times have changed and everybody thinks there's no election laws. So we've been challenged several times.
Hey, Rick, listen to me, buddy, old pal. Let me explain something to you. Everybody feels like they know election laws. Oh, God. Hold on. I've got to pull this back because I'm going to make this a short. Hold on. Stand by. We're gonna play this again. Good Lord. All right, here we go.
What are the legal services, Rick?
Well, we didn't used to have to spend much money on legal services, but times have changed and everybody thinks there's no election laws. So we've been challenged several times. Never.
You've not been challenged several times. You were challenged twice. You won both of those challenges that you should have lost if the legal action would have happened closer to the filing and further away from the election. I feel like you might have lost. You definitely, in my opinion, should have lost Troy Ingram's. But even at the end of the day, if I can say, okay, I can understand Troy screwed up. Troy admits he screwed up. Troy's out. You most definitely should have lost the Audie Barber Belinda Munson. She did not fill out a Can 12, and the law simply states it. The clerk shall, the clerk must, not may, the clerk must, shall remove the candidate that does not fill out the Can 12. Period, Rick. Period.
Lost, but
You've
we have
never
to fill
lost. You've never lost the two. You've never lost the two challenges you've had. 2 challenges, Rick. Ooh, that's a lot. I used to be able to tolerate you, buddy. Yeah, you used to be a little intelligent. I kind of liked your post that you made last night going into this budget meeting, but you have lost your damn mind, pal. And I'm telling you, man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, we got a couple months because election time is coming around next year. And I am going to be up your office's ass so hard next year, you might make me a place to live with you. I'm going to be up inside there, and I'm going to know everything that's going on. We're going to challenge every person that doesn't dot their I. This is a message. I don't believe in this, folks. But if they're going to play this game, we're going to play it right back with them. So I'm telling you, if you're running for office in Delaware County, number 1, come to me and I'll help you fill out your paperwork the proper way. I have filled out paperwork for people for 25 years and I've never had an issue. Not maybe 25 years, but 15 years. Never had an issue. 20, because I ran 20 years ago. So yeah, 20 years. Yeah, 20 years, 25 years, man. If you turn in your paperwork and your shit's wrong and Rick doesn't have the balls to do what he needs to do, I'm going to challenge you and we will win at the election board. And if they do the wrong thing at the election board, we will file suit that day. I'll have it all prepared ahead of time. Rick is out of line when he just spoke there. That's nuts. Not everybody's running around acting like they know election laws. You guys were in the wrong, period.
Lawyer win. So.
Your transcription fees, is that new or?
Yes, because I can't type. And so I had to hire somebody to transcribe the minutes from the election board.
What? You had to hire someone because you can't type?
There's the talk to text. It's not that bad.
There's 26 people in his office. He couldn't get one of them to do it. He had to hire someone.
Well, and you'd think you're running for clerk. That's taking notes, typing shit, filing shit.
It's kind of in the title.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How's this man? Rick, where did you go wrong, buddy?
Yeah.
Traveling expenses.
I had to pay someone to travel. I don't know how to drive. I have no idea how to travel. I had to pay someone to lick stamps. I can't lick stamps. I don't like the taste of that.
Fourth to schools, there's really not much in there, is there, for that?
No, 5,000, but.
5,000 for traveling. Where are you traveling?
I can't let this.
I had to pay one guy to come up and tap on the podium because I didn't tap on the podium right.
Go back to this legal services, and I get it that
yes, I can't let it go either, man. I wish. Oh my God.
We've never.
Legal service. Okay, yeah.
Right, but I also know that some of those challenges over the last couple of years have been over some ticky-tack stuff from both sides. And if we just let things play out and let the voters choose,
we
can save ourselves these legal fees by not having to. Now, if something's legit, person didn't vote the primary.
I will never let a person on a ballot that doesn't belong on a ballot. We follow the law to the T, and We're not gonna play that game.
Wait
And
a
I own it.
minute. Wait a minute. What did you just say?
What are the legal services, Rick?
Well, we didn't used to have to spend much money on legal
How do we
services,
get that far
but
back?
times have changed and everybody thinks there's no election law, so we've been challenged several times.
The other person who filled in for you, or the voters choose, we could save ourselves these legal fees by not having to. Now, if something's legit, person didn't
I
vote in
say,
the
I
primary.
will never let a person on a ballot that doesn't belong on a ballot. We
Right.
follow the law to the T and, you know, we're not gonna play that game.
And I honor your,
Except you allowed, we have a person on the ballot right now. Rick Spangler. Rick Spangler, answer the question. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. This is insane. I didn't see this earlier. I'm watching this live, so I'm very incensed.
honor your integrity, but to be fair,
You have no
hearing,
integrity. He just lost that integrity. No integrity. He's lying. He stood there and he lied. He let Belinda Munson on the ballot because he's buddy with Belinda Cardboard Box Munson, part of the Republican circle jerk. Bullshit. This is not good.
you was on vacation, you weren't there. So if the other person who filled in for you,
not here.
when there was the challenges to the election, you had Brandon Murphy sit in for you, right? If he
I was in every court case. I was a witness. I was in the courts.
No, he was on, there was a challenge to the primary elections. You was out of town. Brandon Murphy sit in for you. It was the one where 2 city council members were removed from the ballot. And you weren't there. If
Yeah, that wasn't a court case. That was just an election board meeting. Yes.
But what I'm getting at is that then led
Oh, that was just an election board meeting. Probably one of the most important things that you do. And you weren't there.
to a court case. So you saying you have that integrity and you're saying, I'm not going to let this guy on the ballot if you don't need to be there.
I know you say you can't let it go. I can't let it go either. These people are representing, you know, whether it be Brandon Murphy or Joe Schmo, they take an oath and they're representing the voters of Delaware County to have a free, fair, and truthful election. And
Yes.
follow the laws for, you know, I won't let that go. You know, I will push it to the hilt.
Okay, why did Belinda get to be on the ballot? Why did Belinda get to be on the ballot?
I get that. But one of those board members voted for one person in the exact same scenario, the very next case, did the exact opposite vote and didn't follow the law.
You're going down a hole here. I mean, people got a right to vote for you. I mean, I can tell you a story and Dan's listening to it, and you guys might hear a different story, all coming out of my mouth. You know, Brandon voted one way, Mr. Drum, who was on the board member, voted another way. That's America, man. Ain't it beautiful?
I like that, but that,
Okay.
I like the idea of the people just choosing it saves.
Well, there's
I
a law in
$25,000.
place for a reason.
I can't stand here and say that that's not important, because it's damned important. It's important to me. I wouldn't be in this job.
What I got to do with the numbers?
Big, yeah. What it has to do with the numbers is we're budgeting $25,000.
Oh, Ryan. Man. The argument that Ryan is making is they're wanting to increase the legal fund next year. I mean, I guess he's preparing to do a whole bunch of crazy shit next year, too. So, Yoko, follow me here. They have not normally had a very crazy legal fund because they've never really needed that before. They have 2 cases this year that are very out of the norm, and now he's preparing for something wild next year, I guess. He's preparing to not do his job several different ways next year and thinking that he needs an extra $25,000 in this when these people on this council need to cut $7 million. I tell you, a good place to start with $7 million when you got the sheriff of Delaware County giving up his raise is bullshit $25,000 from this legal fund. $25,000 next year. Are we saying the clerk can and should eliminate citizen challenge process or control the election board? No, what we are saying is, and I can't speak for Ryan. I don't know what Ryan's saying. I'll tell you what I think Ryan's saying, and what I'm saying from Ryan's point of view is Ryan ain't doing anything other than Ryan sticking it to them for some bullshit, and I applaud him for that. Ryan is saying, hey, you guys screwed up this last year, and he's just letting them know it. Listen, he did two exact things. He did two exact things. He turned the light switch on, he turned the light switch off. And he said they were both okay.
To be fair, you did say you were going to go through every single
one of them.
And everyone that had a missed spot, a misspelled word, they made any mistake on that, you were challenging.
Yeah, but that's not in the court of law. That's with the election board.
Yes, I get that, but you kind of declared war.
I did. Oh, absolutely.
So he wants to pad the budget to make sure he's ready for
Here's
a war.
the thing, though. It's retro causality because I knew they were going to pull this shit today, so that's what I did.
Yeah, good boy. But it's going to be fun either way.
It's going to be great. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. Onward ho.
We spent however much money in for
We're
legal
looking at the
defenses.
23 budget, remember?
But the point is, we're talking about it. The point is that there are legal cases over little bitty minor details that had nothing to do with anything other than a paperwork error that could have just been decided by the voters that the county taxpayers on the hook for. And what I'm saying is,
laws
we
in
don't
place
have
for
that
a reason,
option.
Ryan.
Why, what do you mean we don't have that
We
option?
don't have that
We do
option.
too.
The law states what we're going to
We do
do.
too. We don't have
No,
to fund
we
it.
don't.
Yes, we do. We don't
How
have
do
to fund
you
it.
figure that somebody's challenging? If you make a mistake on paperwork or I make a mistake and I say, and he says, no, you can't do that, I go have a discussion with him about it. That's my right to have a discussion about it, and it's going to not be with Rick, it's going to be with the board.
Sure.
How do you get around that?
I'm telling
Please
you.
ask me how I
I'm
get
trying
around
to.
that.
You're not letting me explain it. What I'm saying is we don't fund it.
No, you can't.
We don't fund it. If you want to do something like that,
Because if I disagree with him, then I'm taking it to court. Now, how do you not fund that?
So then do we not fund an election when we're afraid it might not come out the way we want it?
We move on.
Yeah,
Let's
I
move on.
think
This
this
is
is a
discussion we can
personal,
have.
yeah.
This is I don't like everything Piper says is personal. Okay, the election board was inconsistent. The election board was inconsistent. That was bullshit. Rick is inconsistent. That's bullshit. I just take what Ryan is doing, and Ryan might be doing something like I thought. I just take it as kind of getting another jab in, and I think he should have, because, and I honestly, I wish, I of course, we didn't know this was going to happen, because I would have made sure that Ryan would have said this point, because I'm telling you, had I been there, they would have gavelled me down. Had I been in this room, it's a good thing I was not there today, because they would have gavelled me down, because I would have been like, I would have said, no, you did not. I would have said everything I just said here.
So, all right, and then obviously the big ticket item on here is the voting machines.
And the printers.
Right. Now, do I recall correctly in a council meeting that they said that they could even do that in payments?
Yes, absolutely. They gave us the option. I told you in that meeting, if you look back, I was gonna put it in for the full amount, but they gave us the option of 2 payments.
I could even agree
And no
with
interest.
what Ryoko's
So
saying
that is
here,
an
that maybe it was
option on the
arguing against the citizens' best interest.
For both of you.
But I'll tell you what incenses me is what
yes.
Rick said
I
here.
actually, you know.
It's what Rick said here that pisses
printers
me
could be
off.
funded. That would be pretty easy to go ahead and take them out of the
So
way.
that's what
And
bothers
the
me.
Voting machines are the big thing.
Was it 3 years?
2 years.
2 years.
Well, you
Mandated that we get new machines?
All right,
Is it
I think
mandated
we're
that
done
we get
here.
new
We got one
but
more, and then this will be
These
quick.
machines, and we talked about it at the time, and when we showed the machine, these machines are over
Yeah, I
20
don't think
years
Jim
old.
was on the council at that time, so.
Oh, okay.
He's new, so
You haven't seen the new machines. They're
you
new.
gotta do your song and dance for him.
Yeah. Going into what'll either be the biggest or the second biggest election of my career, and with all the questions and things that we discuss.
If they make you go back to 20.
Okay.
But if you're gonna maybe possibly need
I
it,
just
just
don't
given
want-
the trends of this year, in the past, historically speaking, you've been fantastic about coming to budgets and cutting the
And our-
current year and.
The details worked out. I'm come back before you, with all the details. Agree with them that we don't want a position that's duplicative to another department. You know, if they're doing the same thing over there, I'd kind of like the idea of if we had one all encompassing.
Do we know where we are with this?
You know, all the corners of the.
I don't know if Ryan Webb is still here.
I mean, I'd be worried that, the experience level to do complex federal stuff, you know, even what I think Ed put it in is probably not enough.
It's not.
It's when the judge is talking, I would assume.
Just for everybody who may hear that and will lose their minds, that's not us. We're not doing it.
All right, right here.
That's all I got for it.
I will say that we did receive the, salary order, so, while we were discussing this, myself and Ben
Listen to this,
Ed
ladies and
received a
gentlemen.
Copy, so I can pass it down if you guys all wanna look at it.
The study?
No, the order, the salary order.
It's line A-128, court administrator.
Oh, you're seeing the order from the judge to increase
Yeah.
the base?
It fixes the 2024 salary per statute for that one line item.
So we'd asked last week if we were going to receive that order and
Yeah, I'd love a
ask that
copy.
when you're done with that, come back to me for my files.
Are we too far, or did we
Just
start
so people
here?
are aware who wasn't in the room last time.
Are we too far?
There's a request in here to increase the court administrator's salary.
This is it.
$80,000, and the judges have taken a vote and have decided to order the council to raise that salary to $80,000. So
Not 80, they're not raising it 80, they're raising it
that's
2.
what I said, raise it to $80,000. So, just for everybody who may hear that and will lose their minds, that's not us. We're not doing it. It's an order that's coming down from above us. So that's important for everyone to know.
Clarity on the stipends. The 5,000, is that required?
No.
This is the judge's stipend?
Yes.
So, yes. As it currently stands, you cannot mess with the stipends for circuits 2 through 5. There's,
But be clear
there's
that
case law and the Indiana Constitution, you cannot alter a sitting judge's salary. Because there was a known turnover in circuit
Tim
court
Dalton,
one
are you?
last
I
year,
think
there
you're
was no
talking about
appropriation for circuit
the
court one.
administrator, which is who they're talking
That's
about.
the only one that you have the ability.
Getting
to
the
do whatever
raise.
you want with. Last year was a little bit weird because the judges, in order to get a pay increase for the court administrator position, voluntarily gave back some of that, but they do not have to continue to do that in 2024.
So that was a 1 year only.
Yes.
So you're saying when they voluntarily change the stipend,
The
that
agreement was,
doesn't go on continuously, that automatically reverts back
That
to
was,
the
I mean, that was for
5,000?
the 2023 budget year. There's no,
But I'm asking
It reverts to the 5K.
essentially what they did was you gave it to them and they gave it back to fund to her. I mean, they still got it.
Oh, okay.
It's just they gave it to Emily in order to fund that position. So there, because
They didn't
it
actually
cannot
know, yeah.
change, that's the
This is
point, and it was a
nuts.
workaround
What's
that we
going to
came up
happen?
with, but you cannot change a sitting judge's compensation during their tenure.
But to be fair, what I would ask you as the legal representative, that deal was made as a compromise, right? Now we're in another year where that compromise is being worked around. So what I'm saying, if someone voluntarily agrees to reduce their salary that we can't touch, and they did it voluntarily, why does it fall back on us to put it back there the next year?
Because it was voluntary given to us for one budget.
Who said? It was
Received a
voluntarily
letter
reduced.
from,
It was voluntarily reduced. There was no, I don't remember signing anything that said,
we didn't sign
going forward,
anything.
this will be
They
2,500.
sent us an email.
Nobody signed anything, it was, there were at the time, the 4 line items totaling $20,000 for those 4 courts. The money was appropriated for the judges, and then the judges set their money aside to fund those line items. Because again, the county has no choice but to fund those. You can consider those to be mandates. What the judges did with it after it was funded is up to them.
Listen to
as
this
is
attorney
no longer
making
setting
sure
it
to go to
aside,
bat
it's up to
for the
them.
So what you're
judges
saying is
rather
their,
than
their
his
amount never
clients.
changed. They just put it in
Correct.
a different
Line.
account to be given. So what you're arguing is it's still $5,000. It never made a difference. You just put it in a
We'd have
different
to
line item
renegotiate
to
that with
give
them.
to an employee.
And I'm looking at
Okay.
the letter from Judge Cannon last
Clarify
year that said it says for 2023. So they only agreed to this current year's budget.
Well,
It wasn't
yeah, well, he
perpetual.
explained it right there that it really never reduced. It was just moved in a different line
Correct.
item. That makes sense.
They essentially self-funded whatever the proportionate share would be of that salary line.
Where do we stand with Circuit Court 3 then? The new judge.
Honestly, I don't know. The new judge, Judge Mahor, has been seated. That money has already been appropriated. He's finishing. the
Ryan,
existing
does the
term.
judge
I-
speak again, or
I
did
don't
we
know. I'd have
pass
to
it?
do, if there is any case law on it, but my assumption would be that line item doesn't change.
The 2023 stipend have already been paid out to Judge Wolf.
We didn't do anything for 2023.
I
It
think
was
those are
zero.
paid out, Tanya, how
Looks like-
often is their stipends paid out quarterly?
Looks like twice a year.
No,
Twice a year.
it was
I feel like
2,500.
those are
Judge Wolf
quarterly.
was
Are they
a
quarterly?
sitting judge.
I'm pretty sure quarterly. I feel
And-
like, I'm remembering that from the.
Saying yes to yes or
So the stipends are
You
paid
multiple
quarterly,
choice
so that
question.
means
I'll get
Judge
that back when you're
Mayor will get the last.
Yes, he
quarter
talks again, or
Only.
yes, we passed it.
Council. I feel it necessary.
That's what I thought. I just don't know when he reads the order.
Record the order.
Okay, here he goes.
Fixing the administrator's salary for 2024.
Sure.
If I might. Comes now the Board of Judges of the Delaware Circuit Court by unanimous vote and pursuant to the statutory authority of Indiana Code Section 33-23-4-5, fixes the salary of the Delaware County Circuit Court Administrator, Emily Anderson, for the calendar year of 2024, line item 128 in the court submitted 2024 budget at $80,000, and orders the Delaware County Council to appropriate said amount and the auditor to pay the same in the budget year 2024. In determining the appropriate level of the current Circuit Court Administrator's salary.
Is that who you were talking about,
5
Tim?
division Circuit Court judges sitting in committee have considered the following factors. 1, the educational background of the current court administrator, including her recent certification in court management through the National Center for State Courts. 2, the length of tenure, and degree of experience of the current court administrator.
We're mixing things up. I want to be very clear. That's no. Okay. What we're talking about, two different things. The salary that they're increasing crazy is not a one-term thing. What they were just talking about is a one-term fix. That was just a $5,000 stipend that the judges get every year. That last year, instead of getting that, they paid towards Emily's money, her boost, because they wanted her to have more money. This year, they want the stipend back to them, and they want the council to increase her a shit ton of money.
First as an employee of the Delaware
Yeah, that's
County
Emily.
Clerk's office, 2001 to 2013. Next as administrative assistant to the court administrator, 2013 to 2016.
and as court administrator 2016 through the present. Number 3, the adopted job description duties of the court administrator, director of court services, that in its execution necessitates a 40-hour plus work week. Number 4, the comparative salaries paid in Indiana counties of similar population size and median household incomes. Number 5, the additional contributions undertaken by the current court administrator on a volunteer basis to improve court services, not only in Delaware County and East Central Indiana, but throughout the entire state through her Indiana Supreme Court appointments to the Access to Court Records and Management Committee and the
Show me the
Court
money.
Personnel Committee, and her service as a board member of Guardian Advocates, Inc., a nonprofit organization which provides adult guardian
I told you guys to
assist
eat
the
your
courts
Wheaties.
where
We're
the
almost
need
done.
exists. And number 6, the county's ability to pay the ordered increased salary, considering the projected increase in property tax revenues from increased assessed property values in 2023 and a legislative action taken in 2023 by the passage of Senate Bill 417, which enacted new law, Indiana Code Section 6-3.6-6-2.9, effective July 1st, 2023, authorizing the county fiscal body to impose a tax rate for county staff expenses of the state judicial system in the county. All of which is ordered this date of September 5th, 2023, signed by the 5 sitting judges of the Delaware Circuit Court.
I have a question.
Now, second point I want to make on the question that was asked about the stipends. The county council does not have to continue the stipend for any judge that has gone out of office. So in answer to your question, that the 3 of us that remain, we're still grandfathered into that. The other 2 positions you don't have to appropriate that stipend to them. Historically, that was done a long time ago as an appreciation by the county and the county council as to the
An appreciation
as an add-on. Okay, you know, we in that area of government, I don't think we sit in public favor as much as we once did. But the job hasn't changed.
Boo-hoo, dude.
It has gotten more
Nobody
complicated,
forced you to run for judge, my man.
when you consider what's going on.
And understand, I like Judge Cannon.
We're asking
I personally like Judge Cannon.
Consider
I like him as a man. I like him as an attorney. I like him as a judge. But don't get up here and sing me a sad song about being a judge and not being liked. And what the hell?
Attorney.
Retire.
The employees of the court are court employees.
How much money do you
simply are
need?
Paid by the county. So there is a division. We are a separate, equal entity of government, along with the executive and the legislative branch, which effectively at the county level you are. We have different needs. And again, I'm not going to be redundant because I seem to get accused of talking too much.
Yes. If the shoe fits, dude.
There is a means.
I mean, I do too. So don't take it. Don't let it offend you.
Perform our jobs.
Great minds talk alike.
That we believe they need to be
talk a lot.
And to pay the staff of our courts a fair wage in today's atmosphere.
$80,000.
That's why, considering what the state did in salaries, we determined that at a minimum, a 7.8% increase would
He
be
wants
consistent,
he literally wants taxes to be
along the
raised.
lines of the
He
state
wants
approval.
everyone to have to increase paying taxes
so,
in Delaware County
You know,
to
we
pay
feel
this
if you
woman a
must
bunch of money.
Reduce it to 7.8. You have the decision to make in that area. I mean, we tell you what we think.
I've always
is
liked
their
Emily,
worst,
but she did appear to have
keep them.
quite an attitude today,
And
and
again, it's easy to say, well,
I
when
don't
a
like it.
position opens up and is not filled, get rid of it. Oh, I'm telling you, we have no extra employees working in our courts.
I don't want to see any public official have an attitude.
What that does, we've gotten far enough behind with
I know you might have a
COVID
bad
over the
day,
last
but
few years. We're still catching up on jury trials. Every month, we get an email from the sheriff as to those prisoners that are in jail for more than a year waiting trial. And it just places a great amount of stress on our employees to get the work done that they need to get done. So they should be compensated. So that is our position, and we hope that you will consider it. Now, on the other line items, I mean, the major two increases are obvious. Those are the psychological costs and jury fees. So,
Can we go back to the stipend, what you said about clarity on the new judges?
yes.
That's like Indiana code, they don't have to be paid? Is that what you were trying to say?
I think it's correct because, and I don't think the bounce back stipend is payable to Judge Maywar because
No, we didn't budget for it last year.
that would have to go to a new line item. It's the appropriations.
I mean,
I
Judge
did put
Wolf.
in a PI form to change it over to Judge Mayhorn, but if you all get rid of it for 2024, then it disappears and he doesn't get anything. But currently, it's gonna go to Mayor.
No, it's not appropriated for him.
The
It's
line item was
appropriated to-
appropriated for Judge Wolf, and then I turn in a PI form. If that's not what needs to happen, then I just need to.
watch how
redact
red
or
the
just
judge's
take
face
it
gets
back.
here in a
Before
minute.
the council, they have to be approved by the council to transfer it to a new
We're
line
almost
item,
done.
right?
Probably.
If she, let's just, I'm just gonna pick the first one. I don't know which number.
It's 103.
Okay, so he would be A 103.
Right.
So to your point, that is a new line.
Until that's done, it can't be paid out.
There is a gnat. It keeps getting.
I think that's
So the
what
two courts in question are courts 1 and 3 would be the two that,
It's the A101. No,
yeah, 1 and 3 are the two newest judges who,
A101 and 103, which would be A103 once that. But if you're telling me that we can't replace that 103, why even give them that stipend?
Well, that's your decision.
right? And we can make those decisions tomorrow. Do we have any further questions in
Question.
this fund in front of us right now?
I have a question.
Okay,
The court order that you passed me that I heard Judge Cannon read off stated to order the $80,000 salary for that particular employee. That employee had to work 40 hours. Did I read that correctly?
I work 40 plus.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify, because I know some employees work 32 and a half hours, and I just wanted to clarify that you are a 40-hour week employee.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 32.5, but if you look at my timesheet, I'm 40 plus. But I'm exempt, so it doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
Because the court system is 32.5, but I work 40 plus every week.
she just doesn't get
And I'm
paid
exempt,
extra
so
for
I don't
that.
get
Look
comp
how
time,
mad he gets.
so-
But let me explain how
Yeah,
things,
it's done now. I mean, it's a done deal.
let
You
me
said it.
explain how things really work. Okay? We have a jury trial. We're working late into the evening. Every week, every court has a jury trial. There's not employees that aren't assigned to the criminal side of our court that don't put in 40 plus weeks in those weeks. We only pay them for 32 and a half. They don't get comp time until after the 40-hour limit. And that's exactly what we deal with. So, you know, it's the same reporting time and the same ending time in the day that I think our personnel policy mirrors yours in that. But it goes on to say that they can be required to work up to 40 hours without comp time during those weeks. So, and that's how we have to handle it because, you know, those trials get pretty intensive and if you're taking record or if you're acting as bailiffs, in my court, there are 3 of our staff members that work every jury trial. And that's the kind of hours they put in. You know, I always instruct a jury that we'll start at 8 or 8:30 in the morning, but we may work until 4 or 6 or 6:30 or 7. When you're deliberating, you'll be here until late in the evening, sometimes early in the morning. So.
According to our handbook, our county handbook, from 32.5 hours to 40 straight time. We don't, that's not federal law. Federal law is gap time. We follow federal law.
Yeah, listen to
We
this.
don't, we do not give gap time. We do not. In your handbook. Correct,
Yes.
because we follow federal law. Yeah. You're not supposed to give comp time between 32.5 and 40 hours per federal law.
Yeah.
So that is called gap time. That's our minimum.
Those are the clock-in times.
And so from 32.5 to 40, that's called gap time per federal law. From 40 on, they get time and a half comp time. I'm exempt from comp time because my position is exempt. They sign a piece of paper that explains that gap time when they come on as employees.
Let's see what
Damn.
you're saying, right? That's why I asked the question, because I know there'd be people who would be wondering that. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you both taking the time to explain it.
And I would certainly extend the invitation to any of the council members, and I know we have a lot of new ones. Come shadow us someday, see what we do. Come to a criminal court session, Tuesdays and Thursdays in Circuit Court 5.
Do I get to pass
Your eyes may be
judgment?
opened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on now to page 86.
All right, folks. That's basically the end of that deal. Man, it was basically that video was 6 hours. The video before it was 3 hours. 3 hours and 41 minutes. That video was 6 hours and 16 minutes. So you're talking about a big day there they had. They're going to have a big day tomorrow. And if you think some people were pissed off today, you wait until tomorrow. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Tomorrow, this is what tomorrow is going to be. Tomorrow is going to be about 35 or 40 minutes of Sproles straight off the bat. Henry County Sproles stuff, because I got some big stuff to tell you guys. Tomorrow, episode 25 is going to be about a half hour, 45 minutes of Henry County Sproles. And then from there, we're going to do some budget stuff. And tomorrow, it starts at 8:30. We're going to go a little bit more in depth. And I'm telling you, there's going to be some fireworks tomorrow. Councilor Webb, do you think that we're going to have some fireworks tomorrow? Yeah, right. Look at me. You see how gray I am going? Are you talking to me? Get out of here, Joey. I just don't have hair gel in tonight, so I look really exceptionally gray. Exceptionally gray. All right, folks. That's going to do it for us tonight. We've been talking for a long time. My throat is starting to give out on me, and we've done a good show. So, big show. Text 260-286. Oh, shit. 286-0988. Text the word spotlight to that number. You will join her group. And that's a very cool thing. Her group is awesome. That's a thing that we all need to be doing. Here is a picture. I was going to post this up earlier. Thank you, Kate. There is a picture of Belinda Munson. that Rick did not cut. Oh, man. I'm going to be making some shorts out of that, man. I cannot. You just don't even understand what's going to happen. It's going to be insane. Here is the Watchdog banner. Okay, check that out. There's the Watchdogs. There's the website down there for that. And then here is bodily integrity is medical liberty. Check that out. And then we will see you all back here, same bat time tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Delaware County starts their budget meetings. If you all want to get a head start on tomorrow's show, start watching it and see what's going on, because it's going to be big, big, big. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, there's something you should know. Let's say it together, class. Politicians don't love you, and you shouldn't love them. It's weird and embarrassing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. We'll just leave that as being the postscript for tonight. I just read it there for you. Read it so fast we didn't even get it up on the screen. You guys have a good night. Take care. God bless. We will see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye. Oh, we'll also cover the Muncie stuff tomorrow. So it is what it is. We didn't get to it. We'll cover that tomorrow, but it was too much. We got a lot of shit to talk about. Good night.